Chapter 2491. This time, as soon as they entered the small world, Yun Tianyi laughed. She said in surprise, "Haha, it's exactly the same as the previous small world. Let's fight according to the previous routine." "Yes, you suffered quite a bit last time. Be careful this time." Knight Sorrow, who had instructed Yun Tianyi, took the Samsara halberd from his back and charged forward. Facing billions of soul-devouring beasts, he had the aura of an unstoppable person. The Samsara halberd's appearance had changed greatly. It usually restrained its aura and didn't release flames. Qing Qingzi didn't see its grade and thought it was an ordinary feather god weapon. Who would have thought that its grade was almost at the peak of the exalted god level? With the previous experience, Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi cooperated more tacitly this time. Yun Tianyi didn't suffer any heavy injuries and successfully killed all the soul-devouring beasts. However, God Jin Yuan's projection didn't appear this time. After the small world was blasted, it immediately turned into a bronze fragment. From the looks of it, it should be a quarter of a bronze key. It should be a part of a key. It might have something to do with the opportunity later. Yun Tianyi took the bronze fragment and looked at it. She didn't see anything special about it, so she threw it to Knight Sorrow. Yi Shang placed the bronze shard in his hand and looked at it for a while before saying, "I hope you're right." If Yun Tianyi's guess was correct, the two of them wouldn't be in a hurry at all. Because this key fragment was in their hands, the people in front would definitely not be able to obtain the most important opportunity. However, this was an uncertain matter. Knight Sorrow couldn't use it as insurance. He put the bronze fragment into his pocket and stood up. "Let's continue. Although we can be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, it's also the easiest to fall into other people's traps. Yes, those who can have a place on the feather god list have all fought for it. None of them are simple. I will be careful." Yun Tianyi nodded. Knight Sorrow gave off a very stable vibe. Now, Yun Tianyi felt that Elder Zhuang he had found the right person. There shouldn't be anything left to search in the hall. Although they found a small world in the hall, Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi still searched the hall thoroughly before moving on. Walking out of the hall, the two of them immediately walked into an even wider world. This world contained the sun and moon, as well as mountains and rivers. It looked very grand. However, the creatures within were all gigantic skeletal puppets. There were low-rank high-god skeletal dragons that soared in the air, and mid-rank high-god skeletal birds that breathed fire. There were even more creatures that ran on the ground. Almost every 1,000 miles, there would be a deity-level skeleton. Some of them were even at the higher god level, and their auras were extremely shocking. Ming Yu and Ming Ju were nowhere to be seen. Looking at the skeletons on the ground, they must have chosen two different paths. Where do we go now? The world in front of them was too vast, and the path was no longer directional. Yun Tianyi turned to look at Knight Sorrow beside her. "Let's not go for now." Knight Sorrow shook his head and said, "Search this world bit by bit and see if we can find a similar small world." "But isn't this world too big? And there are high god skeletal puppets everywhere. It's obviously not easy to search." Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yun Tianyi retorted. Looking at it, this world was boundless and there was no end in sight. If they used their divine soul power to search casually, they would be discovered by the skeletal puppets. Now that this area was obviously wider, there might be some high-level arrays. It would be very dangerous if they accidentally entered. It was not easy to search bit by bit. It will be difficult to search thoroughly. Our main goal is to wait. Ming Yu and Ming Ju must not have gone far. If I'm not wrong, they should be fighting with the skeletal puppets not far away. Pointing to the highest mountain in the distance, Knight Sorrow continued. "After we determine their location, we will go up this mountain and occupy a commanding position to observe this world. Then we will decide which path to take." "What if they also choose the highest mountain?" Yun Tianyi continued to ask. Although he felt that there was no skill in climbing a mountain to look into the distance, he felt that Knight Sorrow's words made sense. But if they could think of it, so could others. The mountain is so big. It doesn't matter if there are a few more groups. Knight Sorrow looked into the distance and said, "And we are not afraid of them. We just don't want to cause more trouble." As soon as he finished speaking, a great battle broke out on a hillside hundreds of thousands of miles away. There should be people fighting with the skeletal puppets. A battle has broken out. While Yun Tianyi sighed, A great battle broke out on the other side of the hillside. Let's go! The positions of the two groups were more or less confirmed. Knight Sorrow used his power of merit to open a path and search. Yun Tianyi followed behind him. Knight Sorrow had the power of merit to protect him. Some of the skeletal puppets felt uncomfortable and automatically retreated. But those who were stronger would still attack fiercely. Inevitably, Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi also began to fight with the skeletal puppets. After killing more than 10 skeletal puppets with the strength of upper-level gods, the two of them successfully reached the peak. The speed at which they reached the peak was about the same as the other two groups. Standing on the peak, they saw at the same time that on the other side of the mountain, hundreds of thousands of miles away, there was a palace that reached into the clouds. This palace was built with bluestone. The top of the palace reached into the clouds. It was extremely grand. It's clear where to go now. Looking at the bluestone palace in the distance, Yun Tianyi yearned for it. But at this moment, Ming Yu and her group rushed in the direction of Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. Ming Yu's face was gloomy and there was a clear murderous look in her eyes. She was very vengeful and wanted to kill Knight Sorrow immediately. Yan Jiannan's expression was more relaxed, but there was a clear murderous look in his movements. In Yan Jiannan's opinion, he was the strongest in this trip to the cave abode. But Yun Tianyi was the troublemaker. He was prepared to kill Yun Tianyi as soon as possible to prevent him from becoming a variable. This idea coincided with Ming Yu's. The two of them discussed and were prepared to attack Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi as soon as possible. They did not want to give Ming Ju a chance to react. As long as the two of them were killed, everything would be fine. Should we fight or retreat? Yun Tianyi asked Knight Sorrow when she saw that the other party was coming at her aggressively. He was no match for Yan Jiannan's strength. If they fought, he would probably only be able to deal with a few nameless feather gods. So he was not confident. Moreover, he still could not see through Knight Sorrow. He did not know if he could fight against Yan Jiannan, who was ranked 27th on the feather god list. After all, Yan Jiannan was one of the top 5 feather gods in the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm. My principle is that I will not attack unless I am attacked. With a smile on his face, Yishan looked at Yan Jiannan and the others who were rushing over and said, "However, if someone wants to harm us, we should deal with them quickly. Otherwise, there will be no variables in the palace. If we are surrounded, it will be difficult to deal with them." Knight Sorrow's meaning was similar to Yan Jiannan's. However, he was the feather god of merit. He would not kill for no reason just to steal treasures. Chapter 2492. The soul-devouring evil wind at the top of the mountain was obviously stronger than on the plains. Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi felt the wind blow against their faces. Their robes fluttered in the wind as they looked into the distance. At this moment, Yan Jiannan was leading Ming Yu and 5 other cultivators who were close to the level of an undefeatable feather god. They were rushing through the soul-devouring evil wind. Not long after, they encountered a lower high deity realm bone dragon soaring in the sky and engaged in a fierce battle with it. Senior brother Yen, those two saw us coming, but they didn't run. It's strange. The 5 cultivators who were close to the level of an undefeatable feather god were all Yan Jiannan's junior brothers. The strongest male cultivator was called Yan Tianhua. He was careful. While fighting the bone dragon, he kept an eye on Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. He found it strange that the two didn't run away while they were fighting. They probably know they can't run away, so they want to join us. Yan Jiannan, who was fighting the bone dragon with his bare hands, sneered. "That's a good idea, but it's too late. Those who reject me, Yan Jiannan, can only die." The murderous intent in his words made Ming Yu, who was beside him, tremble slightly. Ming Yu was a little afraid of Yan Jiannan. He felt that the murderous intent he inadvertently revealed made him tremble. Senior brother is very powerful. He's one of the top 5 feather gods in the Dark Moon. Let's see how you can fight him. In the soul-devouring evil wind, Ming Yu glanced at Yan Jiannan, then looked coldly at Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. She found it funny that they were standing there and waiting. It was normal that Knight Sorrow didn't help, but to her, it made her miss the chance to kill Ming Yu. It was unforgivable. Yan Jiannan is indeed very strong. I'm definitely not his match. I'll leave him to you. I should be able to deal with the others. For an undefeatable feather god, a normal half-step high god is nothing. When Yun Tianyi saw Yan Jianan easily suppressing the lesser high god skeletal dragon with his bare hands, he felt uneasy and irritated. Yan Jianan's murderous intent was very strong. It surrounded him like a mist, making people uncomfortable. Okay, leave him to me. Knight Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything. Although Yan Jian was a feather god, he was definitely stronger than most high gods. However, Zhang Xian would have to wait until the battle began before he could reveal his trump cards. It didn't take long for Yan Jianan and the others to kill the bone dragon with ease. They followed the path on the mountain ridge and arrived in front of Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi. Yan Jianan had a cold smile on his face as he looked at Yun Tianyi. With a cold tone he said, "Speak. How do you wish to die? Don't join us. How do you want to die?" "Of course, I want you to die. Aren't you only ranked 27th on the Feather God list? Do you really think you're undefeatable? Next year will be the anniversary of your deaths." Since he had chosen to fight, Yun Tianyi didn't hold back. He arrogantly retorted. His arrogance wasn't inferior to Yan Jianan's at all. "Oh my! I didn't see it. Yun Tianyi, you've grown quite a bit. You're only ranked 100th on the Feather God list, yet you dare to be so arrogant?" Yan Jianan didn't expect Yun Tianyi to be so arrogant. Instead of getting angry, he laughed. "I can't be undefeatable. But if a few more of you come, I can kill them all with one hand. It's natural that I'm weaker than you. But today, your opponent is Knight Sorrow." Yun Tianyi took a few steps back and looked at Knight Sorrow. "Brother Yi, I'll leave Yan Jianan to you." "Okay. You go deal with the others." Knight Sorrow nodded. Everyone's attention was on Yun Tianyi. Knight Sorrow was completely ignored. At this moment, Yan Jianan looked at Knight Sorrow and laughed. "Haha, you're just a mid-tier feather god, but you're actually the feather god of merit. If I can kill you and obtain your providence, then I, Yan Jianan, will have a chance of reaching the top 10 on the feather god list." What a pleasant surprise. Knight Sorrow had been using his power of merit to protect himself. His body was surrounded by golden light. Yan Jianan hadn't noticed until now. It was obvious how much he despised Knight Sorrow. "You won't be able to steal my providence just by saying that." Knight Sorrow could sense Yan Jianan's contempt. He didn't care about it at all. His opponent's aura was very strong. He should be much stronger than Yun Tianyi, but he was still as calm as a mountain. "You're very good. You're still so calm. I admire your ignorance and courage." Yan Jianan's voice trembled as he said, "All of you attack together and deal with Yun Tianyi. I'll kill this person. No one can snatch it from me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Yan Jianan was determined to obtain Knight Sorrow's providence. He felt that this was a pleasant surprise from the heavens. "Hurry up and attack. Let me see how strong the top 30 geniuses on the Feather God list are." Knight Sorrow was looking forward to this battle. His battle intent immediately rose. He had been in the divine realm for a while, but he hadn't fought with geniuses of the same level. He wasn't sure how strong he was in the divine realm. "Huh. You're very confident. I wonder who gave you this courage. I'll let you understand why some feather gods are so powerful that even the high gods have to bow before them. Kill." Yan Jianan's junior brothers and Mingyu immediately surrounded Yun Tianyi after he shouted the word, "Kill," in a cold tone. As for himself, he condensed his divine essence energy and sent a palm strike at Yi Shan. Yan Jianan's palm strike was even stronger than Yun Tianyi's secret technique. According to his judgment, this level of attack couldn't be blocked unless one was on the Feather God list. He wanted to kill Knight Sorrow with a single palm strike and steal his providence. This method of attack was a great humiliation. Clearly, he still didn't see Knight Sorrow as a real opponent. "You're too arrogant. I hope you can maintain this confidence." Knight Sorrow wanted to test his strength and didn't use the green phoenix armor to protect him. Being looked down upon like this, he didn't even use his primordial spirit energy. Instead, he welcomed Yan Jianan's attack with a palm strike. Interesting. So your body is very strong. No wonder you dare to be so impudent in front of me. However, you're too naive if you think you can fight me with just a strong body. You think your body is strong? I'll kill you with a single slap. It'll be like swatting a fly." Yan Jianan was a little embarrassed that his attack didn't succeed. He immediately used his secret technique to increase his strength and sent another palm strike towards Night Sorrow. This palm strike was the same as the previous one, but the power was completely different. Whether it was the aura or the strength, it was several times stronger. He was so arrogant that he wanted to kill Night Sorrow with a single slap. He wanted to show off his strength. Again? You're courting death. I think you should have a taste of my palm strike. Night Sorrow was very unhappy with Yan Jiannan's arrogance. He used the Vanishing Shadow Void Escape technique to dodge this attack. Then, he used his Essence Smoke and Astral Domination body to gather his Divine Origin energy to his right hand. He wanted to give Yan Jiannan a taste of his own medicine. Since you want to kill me, I'll kill you. Chapter 2493. Boom! Faced with Night Sorrow's super strong body and shocking strength, Yan Jiannan was still smacked into the mountain, even though he tried his best to block the attack. A huge crater was formed where he was standing. Countless pieces of gravel were sent flying in all directions. What's going on? Yan Jiannan had wanted to smack Night Sorrow to death, but he had been smacked into the ground by Night Sorrow. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Yan Jiannan and the others did not expect that their senior brother would be at a disadvantage, and his face would be smacked swollen. You're so fierce. It's not shameful for me to lose to you. Yun Tianyi, who was fighting with them, smiled. The haze of being suppressed by Night Sorrow had completely dissipated. According to his judgment, Night Sorrow's current strength was probably enough to rank in the top 60 of the Feather God list. It was normal for such a person to suppress him. Moreover, this was just the beginning. Night Sorrow definitely had some strength left. This proved that he definitely had the strength to advance further on the Feather God list. Bastard! I underestimated you. It seems like you deliberately hid your strength. You're definitely not a mid-tier Feather God. Yan Jiannan, who had jumped out of the crater, looked very pathetic. His body was covered in mud. He used his God Essence energy to remove the mud. He stared coldly at Night Sorrow and said, "You're indeed much stronger than Yun Tianyi, but I'll definitely kill you today. Think what you want. I've said it before. If you want to take away my providence, just talking is useless. Show me what you're capable of." Yan Jiannan's body was protected by the stellar energy, so his body was quite sturdy. He didn't suffer any serious injuries after being hit by that palm. Facing such an opponent, Yi Shang's fighting spirit soared. I, Yan Jiannan, will not only kill you today, but I will also kill you with my palm. Being slapped into the ground by Night Sorrow made Yan Jiannan lose all face. His pride was extremely strong, and he stubbornly wanted to slap back. As he roared, he continued to use his secret technique to increase his strength. Then he exploded. Take my ultimate move, Divine Palm. This time, Yan Jiannan still unleashed a palm strike, but this time, he used an invincible Feather God level technique. Good timing. This palm was obviously stronger than the previous one, but this time, Night Sorrow did not choose to dodge. While using the Vital Essence Smoke and the Star's mighty body, he raised his power of merit to the strongest state and fought back. Night Sorrow had only been in the God world for a short period of time, so he had yet to learn any absolute arts. However, his power of merit had reached the pinnacle of the Feather God level. Whether it was used for defense or offense, it could erupt with great power. His counterattack was obviously not weaker than Yan Jiannan's Divine Palm. With a boom, Yan Jiannan was not smacked into the ground this time. Instead, he was blasted into the sky, almost flying into the sky. After being hit by the palm imbued with the power of virtue, countless cracks appeared on Yan Jiannan's high god defensive robe. Moreover, his luck was obviously affected when fighting against Night Sorrow, who had power of merit. As he flew into the sky, he encountered a mid-level high god level bone phoenix. The phoenix spat out a mouthful of flames and burned him until he screamed in pain. Damn it! All of you deserve to die. After being injured consecutively, Yan Jiannan, who had thought that he was in control of the battle, became crazed. He hovered in the air and roared, "Wake up! Blood Lotus Throne!" In an instant, a dark red lotus throne the size of a fingertip tied to his waist grew 1,000,000 times larger. Then, like a millstone, it crushed down on the mid-level high god level bone phoenix. After being continuously struck by the dark red blood fiend lotus platform, the bone phoenix 9 was smashed into pieces and completely fell onto the mountain slope. Night Sorrow! You've done well. You've successfully forced me to use my divine artifact. Yan Jiannan, who had flown back from afar, no longer mentioned the matter of slapping Yi Shang to death. Instead, he sent his blood fiend lotus platform, which was filled with fiendish aura, straight towards Yi Shang. The murderous aura is so thick. Your divine artifact must have devoured a lot of blood energy. No wonder you're so murderous. You'll be a disaster if I let you live. The lotus throne was originally made of red flowers, white lotus roots, and green lotus leaves. It was a symbol of purity and holiness. Now, Yan Jiannan had refined it into a murderous object. Knight Sorrow didn't want to let such a person go. He took the Samsara halberd from his back and fought against the blood lotus throne. He wanted to shatter this evil object. On the other side, Ming Yu and the others were locked in a stalemate with Yun Tianyi. When they saw that Knight Sorrow had defeated Yan Jiannan consecutively and forced him to use his strongest artifact, they were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. They were distracted during the battle and allowed Yun Tianyi to injure two of them. How did this Knight Sorrow become so strong? He didn't have this ability when he wreaked havoc in Jubao Pavilion. Was he hiding his strength all along? Damn it, I should have helped him back then. When he saw that Knight Sorrow and Yan Jiannan were evenly matched, Ming Yu was shocked. In the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm, there were no more than 5 feather gods who could fight against Yan Jiannan. If nothing went wrong, Knight Sorrow would become famous in the entire Dark Moon Divine Realm. Not only did she not make friends with such a person, but she also became enemies because of her extreme personality. This made Ming Yu very depressed. At this moment, she regretted that she didn't help Knight Sorrow at Jubao Pavilion that day. Otherwise, she would be Knight Sorrow's friend by now. How dare you be distracted while fighting me? Dang! Ming Yu had just broken through to half-step high god and there was a big gap between her strength and Yun Tianyi's. At this moment, she was distracted in the battle and was stabbed in the chest by a sword. If it weren't for the amazing defensive power of the divine martial sex robe, she would have been killed. Protect Ming Yu! Yan Jiannan, who was fighting Knight Sorrow in the distance, saw that Ming Yu was stabbed and immediately shouted. Although the inferior feather gods sent by Ming Yu were weak, when they entered the cave, the soul-devouring evil wind and the various skeletons and puppets were not as strong as they were now. Therefore they obtained a lot of useful information. Ming Yu and Ming Ju knew this information. Yan Jiannan naturally didn't want Ming Yu to be killed. After all, she was like a living map. Yes, senior brother. Hearing Yan Jiannan's order, Yan Tianhua responded and ordered the others, form the divine martial starry formation. Yes. The divine martial starry formation was originally a trump card that they had prepared. They didn't expect to be forced to use it before they even started fighting for the treasure. After forming the divine martial starry formation, the 5 half-step high gods of the divine martial sect seemed to have merged into one body and become the real invincible feather gods. Fighting with the 5, Yun Tianyi gradually felt more and more exhausted. His raw strength was obviously not as strong as the 5 who had formed the formation. However, at this moment, he glanced at Knight Sorrow and Yan Jiannan who were fighting and found that Knight Sorrow's Samsara halberd was ruthlessly suppressing the blood evil lotus as if it was assisted by God. 2 of the 12 corners of the blood evil lotus had been broken. Yan Jiannan was also covered in blood. Obviously, he was weaker than Knight Sorrow. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been suppressed like this. Brother Yi has gained the upper hand. It seems that I can stake everything and use my secret skill. With this thought, Yun Tianyi used a powerful secret skill to increase his strength by several times. He used his most powerful skill, the non-phase sword formation. The 5 experts of the divine martial sect formed the divine martial starry formation. Yun Tianyi's non-phase sword formation was not as powerful as the divine martial starry formation, but it was enough for defense. Hang in there. I'll be done soon. Glancing at Yun Tianyi, Knight Sorrow couldn't help much in the battle. Chapter 2494. Have a taste of my forbidden spear. Knight Sorrow, who had already gained the upper hand, was unwilling to use the 7-star violent light shaking sword. That was because it would consume a spiritual recovery pill. Using such a consumption in a battle was clearly a little wasteful. He used the evolved Samsara halberd to unleash a brand new forbidden spear. This spear contained a powerful Samsara power. After being hit, Yan Jiannan's blood fiend lotus platform immediately dropped a grade. Its defensive power was greatly reduced. It was no longer realistic to use it to defend against Night Sorrow's attack. You're forcing my hand. Secret art of burning blood. After being continuously suppressed by Night Sorrow, Yan Jiannan was completely enraged. He roared as he burned his blood to increase his strength. He activated the strongest attack of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform. Blood Lotus Emerge. Yan Jiannan used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform to unleash this move. A bloody rain immediately drifted down from the sky. This bloody rain cooperated with Yan Jiannan's divine domain and directly enveloped Night Sorrow. Then, the remaining 10 horns of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform all turned into sharp blades and flew up to attack Night Sorrow, who was wielding the Samsara halberd and had his hair fluttering in the wind. Filth, purify for me. Yan Jiannan's divine domain was like an Azura's blood field. It gave Night Sorrow a very uncomfortable feeling. He roared and transformed the power of virtue into a dragon that devoured and purified the bloody rain around him. Awoo! After the golden dragon of virtue flew out, the bloody rain that filled the sky seemed to be suddenly illuminated by the sun. It instantly became sacred. Under the purification of the dragon of virtue, the bloody rain in the air was quickly dispersed. Yan Jiannan's divine domain was naturally unable to suppress Night Sorrow. He wielded the Samsara halberd and directly unleashed the forbidden 10 spears. These 10 spear strikes were as fast as lightning, and they were accompanied by blood-red flames. Compared to the 10 simple spear strikes from before, they were countless times more powerful. One after another, they struck down the 10 horns that flew out from the Blood Fiend Lotus throne. After being burned by the flames of the Samsara halberd, the 10 horns of the Blood Fiend Lotus platform were burned to ashes before they could even fly back. This made Yan Jiannan's heart ache. Bastard! If I don't use my life-risking move, I will lose this battle. But if I use my life-saving move here, it's not worth it. Looks like I can only retreat now. Night. Yan Jiannan was a Blood Fiend Lotus platform. After being continuously suppressed, of course, Yan Jiannan felt very uneasy. After pondering for a moment, he felt that it would be meaningless to use a life-saving technique here, even if he could defeat Yi Sorrow. It was even possible that Ming Ju's group would be the aureole behind the mantis. Thus, he unwillingly roared, "Everyone, use the blood escape technique." Then, he turned into a bloody mist and disappeared from the world. Using the blood escape technique? Did senior brother lose? Yan Tianhua and the others, who were suppressing Yun Tianyi, were stunned. They did not expect Yan Jiannan to lose. But since Yan Jiannan had lost and escaped, they would not continue fighting. The 5 of them and Mingyu used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform and disappeared. Brother Yi, you really defeated Yan Jiannan. You will become a popular person in the Dark Moon Divine Realm when you get out of here. Yun Tianyi praised in admiration when he saw Yi Shang defeat Yan Jiannan unscathed, allowing the other party to execute a secret technique and escape. Now, he was no longer arrogant when facing Night Sorrow. His eyes were full of respect. Wait a moment. This battle is not over yet. Night Sorrow had not given up completely. He waved the Samsara halberd and shot a spear into the void in the distance. The spear had an unstoppable momentum. Following a few screams, Yan Jiannan and the others were all blasted out of the void by Night Sorrow. They fell to the ground one after another, looking very miserable. They attracted the attacks of several skeleton puppets. One of them was a bone ape with the strength of an upper-level high deity. The skeletal ape was as big as a mountain. When it saw Yan Jiannan and the others descending into its territory, it immediately raised its hand and slapped out a palm strike. Although the slap did not kill Yan Jiannan, it killed 2 of his junior brothers. Mingyu, who was already injured, was lucky. He landed later and was not hit by the slap. Otherwise, she would have been slapped to death. Run. Use the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again. Yan Jiannan was furious that 2 of his junior brothers had died. But he did not want to continue fighting. Using the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again would consume a lot of energy. But in order to escape, he did not care so much. Under his command, Mingyu and the others used the Blood Fiend Lotus platform again and disappeared instantly. This time, Night Sorrow could sense their location. But he did not want to attract the attacks of the skeleton puppets. So he did not do it. So, he slowly floated down from the sky. Night Sorrow, who had landed on the mountain peak, looked at Yun Tianyi and said, "Rest up and adjust to your best condition. Then, we will march to the Green Stone Palace." The real competition will only begin in the palace. Yan Jiannan must have held back. But it is already a miracle that you can defeat him as a middle-level god of feathers. I feel that the current you should be in a state where you are invincible among those of the same level. Yun Tianyi, who had consumed 2 recovery elixirs, said with sincere admiration. The realm of the gods is full of talents. I have not accumulated enough and my moves are a little monotonous. Knight Sorrow felt that he was lacking in absolute arts. His moves in battle were a little monotonous. This was a problem he had to solve. This proves that you have great potential. There is still a lot of room for improvement. I estimate that you are now around the 20th place on the feather list. Once you have accumulated enough, you should be able to reach the top 10. Once you become an upper-level feather god, you might be able to reach the top 5, Yun Tianyi said enviously. To him, this was unattainable. The top 10 on the feather list were all legends of the realm of the gods. They had accumulated a lot of experience, but they had not broken through to the high god level because they wanted to be perfect. Only with a good foundation would they have a chance to become a divine king or even a sovereign. Perhaps. It would be a lie if Yishang said that he didn't care about these rankings at all. However, compared to these, he wanted to quickly become stronger so that he could protect his family and allow the Night Moon dynasty to truly have a place in the celestial realm. After Yun Tianyi recovered, Knight Sorrow, who had not expended any energy, said, "Let's go down the mountain and walk to the Green Stone Palace. During this process, don't forget to pay attention to the details of the surroundings. Also, I feel that the terrain here is a little strange. There might be some array formations here." Although the Green Stone Palace was right in front of them, Knight Sorrow felt that the path to the palace might not be smooth. If Ji Hao, Shangguan Hai, and Leng Ningxin could hear Knight Sorrow's words, they would definitely agree. At this moment, the 3 of them were trapped in a maze formation and could not escape. Let's be careful. There should be no problem, right? Brother Yi, you are very strong. You should be good at array formations, right? Yun Tianyi asked as they rushed down the mountain to the Green Stone Palace. I know a little. I'm afraid that God Zhenyuan's cave residence is not enough. Knight Sorrow said honestly. He was not trying to be humble. Compared to God Zhenyuan, his array formation skills were indeed much weaker. In the end, Knight Sorrow's words came true. Chapter 2495. After entering this array formation, Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi discovered that this was a world of birds and flowers. It gave them a sense of tranquility. This sense of tranquility made them sleepy. Before they had gone far, Knight Sorrow and Yun Tianyi's eyelids were so sore that they couldn't open them at all. Brother Yi, I'm too sleepy. I'm going to sleep for a while. With a plop, Yun Tianyi's body sank. He fell directly onto the lush green lawn and fell asleep without caring about anything else. Knight Sorrow was very surprised that he fell asleep so quickly. At this moment, although Knight Sorrow's eyelids were a little heavy, his consciousness was still relatively clear. This might have something to do with his deity ocean. While his mind was clear, he observed his surroundings and discovered that there was a colorful green field in front of him. Behind this green field, there was an ancient forest with a faint mist drifting around it. The mist in the ancient forest gradually spread to the green field and then to Knight Sorrow's side. This made his thoughts slow down. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. Yun Tianyi soon began to snore. Knight Sorrow, who felt the boundless sleepiness attacking him, shook his deity ocean and erupted with a powerful soul power to resist this sleepiness. There was no time in the deity realm. Knight Sorrow understood that if he fell asleep, he might not wake up many years later. Not only would he not be able to fight for the letter from God Zhenyuan, but he would also miss the opportunity to save concubine Wu Lingfei. What kind of array formation is this? It can actually trap a cultivator of the divine feather realm like this? Knight Sorrow, who was barely able to open his eyelids, looked at the scenery in front of him vaguely. He felt that all the trees were swaying around as if they were hypnotizing him. I can't sleep. I definitely can't sleep. Knight Sorrow, who really couldn't resist the sleepiness, was a little short-circuited. He couldn't figure out what was going on with this array formation. At the moment when he was about to fall asleep, he roared and used Essence Chi Smoke and Astral Domination Body. However, he only became alert for a short while before he became sleepy again. The sudden sleepiness was as if he couldn't resist it. It was very terrifying. Break! Night Sorrow, who had no other choice, suddenly cut off his left arm and used the everlasting body forging art to absorb it. The pain of his broken bones finally made him more alert. At this moment, Night Sorrow's senses became sharper and he smelled a familiar scent. The smell of Tao Comprehension wine. It seems to be Tao Comprehension wine. If I drink a few mouthfuls, my divine sense will definitely become clear. With this discovery, Night Sorrow was immediately motivated. He took out his samsara halberd and stabbed it into Yun Tiany's thigh. He roared, "Get up, you can't sleep." What's wrong? Yun Tiany was woken up by the stab of the spear. She only felt a little pain, but she didn't completely wake up. Hurry up and wake up, you can't sleep here. Night Sorrow directly lifted Yun Tiany up and slapped her cheeks. However, not long after, Night Sorrow felt that he couldn't take it anymore. Therefore, he left Yun Tiany and staggered towards the direction of the wine fragrance. His footsteps were a little messy, but no matter how much he swayed, he didn't fall down. I'm close. I'm less than 100 miles away from the wine fragrance. Hold on a little longer. Feeling that he could still hold on, Night Sorrow didn't continue to use the everlasting body forging art. If he used it recklessly, even if he could leave this illusion array, he would need a long time to recover. It would be disadvantageous for him in the fight for the Divine Lord's cave. So much Tao Comprehension wine? What a huge amount of resources. Night Sorrow walked in a daze. Suddenly, he saw a 10-mile square lake in the forest in front of him. The lake was actually filled with Tao Comprehension wine. Even in a sleepy state, Night Sorrow suddenly became excited. He moved quickly and pounced towards the lake. However, just as Night Sorrow was about to jump into the lake, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. As he sensed a strong sense of danger. This deadly sense of crisis made him sober up a lot in an instant. Bam! Suddenly, Night Sorrow's body was flung thousands of miles away by a huge dragon tail. This attack had the power to destroy heaven and earth. If it weren't for the blue phoenix battle armor automatically protecting him, Night Sorrow might have been killed. That was close. The azure phoenix battle armor, which should have been able to defend against the attacks of a high god, was severely damaged in order to block this attack. Now, it was probably only able to defend against the attacks of a low god. Night Sorrow, who was suddenly attacked, was still a little tired, but his consciousness was completely clear. He discovered that the lake was becoming bigger and bigger. It went from a 10-mile square lake to a boundless ocean. There was no trace of the Tao Comprehension wine at all. It was all an illusion. At the same time, a huge dragon rose from the surface of the sea. This dragon looked a little strange. It looked a little like a snake and was a little round. It was surrounded by a thick sea serpent aura. It was this aura that made Night Sorrow and Yun Tiany extremely tired. This is the sea serpent. Intermediate exalted god sea serpent. So you're the one who made me so tired. Although his life was threatened and his body was still being corroded by the sea serpent aura, Night Sorrow's mind was no longer in a mess. He swallowed a few recovery pills and directly used the 7-star violent light shaking art. With the addition of the essence chi smoke beacon, the star's hegemonic body, and the power of virtue that had been fully utilized, Night Sorrow was in a much better state. Seeing Night Sorrow wake up, the sea serpent immediately spat out a mouthful of turbid sea serpent aura. This mouthful of sea serpent aura spread for thousands of miles, completely covering the space between the sea serpent and Night Sorrow. Then, countless images appeared in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. There was the grass and trees of Bamboo Garden Village, the changes in the 9 regions world, and the many sceneries of the celestial realm. There was Night Sorrow's children cultivating together, Night Sorrow's wife drinking tea and chatting, and even Papa Gu and Yiling Huan drinking together. Grandpa! When these images appeared, Night Sorrow's face revealed a trace of intoxication. But after seeing his grandpa, Yiling Huan, his soul shook, and he woke up again. As soon as he arrived in the divine realm, Yiling Huan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yiling Huan were tortured to a state worse than death. This matter had always been in Night Sorrow's heart. When he saw Papa Gu and Yiling Huan drinking together, he immediately woke up and remembered where he was. This was Lord God Zhenyuan's cave abode, and he was fighting with a sea serpent. After waking up, Night Sorrow used the void escape technique to travel through the void and directly appeared in front of the sea serpent. He waved the heavenly samsara halberd and used the fiery demon subduing spear. The fiery demon subduing spear was an area of effect attack. It covered a large area and burned the sea serpent's huge body into a fiery red. The sea serpent immediately dived back into the sea after being burned by the flames that contained the true phoenix bloodline. Its sea serpent aura was terrifying, but its defense wasn't strong. Reincarnation Spear. Knight Sorrow, who had condensed his power to the strongest state, immediately chased after it and used the heavenly samsara halberd to attack with the reincarnation attribute. Even though the sea serpent didn't drop from mid-level high god to low-level high god, its sea serpent aura weakened greatly. Chapter 2496. Puff. Seeing that the situation was not right, the sea serpent spat out an even stronger sea serpent dragon aura. This was its trump card. After spitting out this sea serpent dragon aura, its cultivation level dropped from mid-level high god to low-level high god. Its aura was obviously weakened. Break! This time, Knight Sorrow did not dodge or attack in the face of the sea serpent dragon's aura. Gathering his divine Yuan Qi, he transformed it into divine Yuan Qi and let out a loud roar. The sea serpent dragon's aura was shattered before it could form any mirages. Seeing that the situation was not good, the sea serpent dragon fled frantically. Where do you think you're going? Yi Shang roared and used the vanishing shadow void escape to chase after him. The sea serpent dragon's most powerful ability was to spit out its sea serpent dragon aura. Now that this aura was no longer effective against Knight Sorrow, it was unrealistic for it to escape. However, when Knight Sorrow was 10,000 miles away, the sea serpent dragon's scissor-like tail suddenly glowed and whipped fiercely. You want to whip me? Dream on! Facing the sea serpent dragon's huge tail, Knight Sorrow raised his samsara halberd and struck. The sea serpent dragon's tail shattered like glass, causing it to howl in pain in the water. If it weren't for the blue phoenix armor, I might have been killed by you. Now go to hell. The sea serpent dragon's aura was no longer effective, and its tail had been shattered. It could not escape Knight Sorrow's pursuit. Although Knight Sorrow was the virtuous feather god, he would not show mercy to a monster that wanted to kill him. He gathered his divine essence and struck the sea serpent dragon's head with a forbidden spear. He wanted to penetrate its divine sea. Lord, please spare me. I attacked you because I was loyal to someone. At this moment, the sea serpent dragon suddenly turned into a girl in green and knelt in front of Knight Sorrow. Loyal to someone? Is someone trying to harm me? The girl in green had a round face with some baby fat. She did not look like a treacherous person. Knight Sorrow withdrew his samsara halberd and interrupted the fatal attack. It's not about harming my lord, it's about harming anyone who enters this formation. At this point, the chubby girl shook her head and said, No, that's not right. It's not harm. It's to make all the cultivators who enter this array sleep for 10,000 years. Then why did you attack me just now? Knight Sorrow's tone was a bit cold. Knight Sorrow. It's because you didn't fall asleep and entered the second part of the test that you were attacked. In fact, the sneak attack on you was augmented by Lord Divine Lord Jin Yuan. I don't have such strong offensive power. Given its strength, there was no way it would be able to cause the Azure Phoenix battle armor to drop a grade. Lord God 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 Lords is Lord. God God God. Is as God. Is God Divine God God. God 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 God. God is God level is God God is God. Isn't it a little too hard to wait for you to leave after breaking through to the God King realm? But since it's Divine Lord Jin Yuan's idea, I won't pursue the matter of the sneak attack. Upon hearing this, Knight Sorrow sighed. Divine Lord Jin Yuan had already died in battle. How could there be any possibility of him breaking through to the Divine King level? Thinking of this, he asked, How many years have you been guarding this formation? Yes, there should be. I can't remember clearly, I can't count them. The sea serpent, who had transformed into a chubby girl, counted with her fingers and did not understand. She knelt and said, Anyway, this cave abode exists. I've always been in this array formation. Get up and talk. It's quite pitiful to keep guarding here. Knight Sorrow condensed his divine essence power and helped the sea serpent that had transformed into a young girl up. He said, The key is that Sir Divine Lord has already fallen in the battle back then. Why don't you leave with me? If you wait here, you will never see him. Divine Lord Zhenyuan had already perished. Night Sorrow did not wish to see the sea serpent, who was not very scheming, trapped in such an array formation forever. For any living being, waiting in such a dark formation was meaningless. No. So Divine Lord is not dead. He's so powerful. He won't die. I'll always wait here for him. However, the sea serpent shook her head stubbornly when she heard Night Sorrow's words. She took a few steps back in disbelief. All right, since you don't want to leave, you can cultivate here. If I see Divine Lord again, I'll ask him to come and talk to you. Seeing the sea serpent's firm attitude, Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. He had the power of merit and could tell that the sea serpent was not lying. He thought that whoever started the trouble should end it. If he saw Divine Lord Zhenyuan's shadow again, he would ask him to come and talk to the sea serpent. Then, Night Sorrow asked, "My friend is still sleeping soundly. Is there a way to wake her up quickly?" Night Sorrow did not want Yun Tianyi to sleep for tens of thousands of years. That would definitely affect the final battle for the cave abode. Yes. I'll put away the sea serpent's aura and she will wake up. In addition, here's a drop of my tear. Sir, you can drop it into your eye. This way you will be able to see through all kinds of illusions in the future. The sea serpent put away the sea serpent's aura in the small world and handed a drop of sparkling tear to Night Sorrow. Sir, I can only produce one drop of my tear in a lifetime. This is a reward arranged by Sir Divine Lord. You deserve it. Since it's Sir Divine Lord's arrangement, I'll accept it. The sea serpent's tear had such an effect. It was definitely priceless. Night Sorrow was delighted. After all, he and Yun Tianyi would go deep into the cave abode and might encounter countless illusions. If they could see through all of them, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Sir, you can drop it directly into one eye without any side effects. When it reaches a certain level, not only will you be able to see through all illusions, you can even see through other people's unique skills and imitate them directly. The sea serpent explained slowly with a hint of pride in her tone. If what she said was true, then the value of the sea serpent's tear was too great. How do I level it up? The sea serpent's words made Night Sorrow's heart skip a beat. What he lacked the most now was various unique skills. If he could really see through other people's exquisite unique skills, it would be too heaven-defying. When Sir cultivates, the sea serpent's eye will automatically absorb divine essence and level up. However, with Sir's current realm, even if the sea serpent's eye is raised to a certain level, you can only see through the feather god's unique skills, the round-faced sea serpent explained seriously. No matter what, thank you. This is a divine soul recovery pill. Take it quickly. I'm sorry for injuring you just now. The backlash of the 7-star violent alcade came. Night Sorrow took 2 divine soul recovery pills and handed 2 to the sea serpent. The effect of the sea serpent's tear was really heaven-defying. He was very grateful. However, now that he couldn't use his spatial Dharma artifact, he couldn't think of anything to give in return. He could only remember it silently. Thank you, sir. The sea serpent, who had taken 2 divine soul recovery pills, smiled sweetly at Night Sorrow. When she smiled, her face became even rounder. Chapter 2497. The Divine Emperor gave me the name Shen Yuan, Shen Yuan replied with a smile. My lord, your friend has woken up. I'll go back to the bottom of the sea to cultivate. Shen Yuan bowed to Night Sorrow and turned back into the sea serpent, swimming to the bottom of the sea. Okay, go ahead. I'll come back to see you. Night Sorrow waved to Shen Yuan and rose to the surface of the sea, returning to Yun Tianyi. At this time, Yun Tianyi had just woken up. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes, as if she had forgotten how she came here. The sea serpent's aura is gone. Hurry up and recover. We'll continue later. Night Sorrow said to Yun Tianyi. Then he dripped the sea serpent's tear into his left eye and slowly absorbed it. After absorbing the sea serpent's tear, Night Sorrow soon saw the center of the illusory formation and left with Yun Tianyi. What's going on there? After leaving the illusory formation, Yun Tianyi's aura had returned to normal, but she had no idea what was going on. There was the sea serpent's aura in that formation. That's why you fell asleep. But I've broken it. Night Sorrow didn't say Shen Yuan. After saying that, he suddenly grabbed Yun Tianyi and said, Stop. Let's go another way. There was a maze-like illusory formation in front of them. With the help of the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow avoided it and didn't walk in. However, just as they were about to go around it, a cold voice sounded. Yun Tianyi, it's really you. It turned out to be Ji Hao, Lang Ningxin, and Shangguan Hai, who had just come out of the illusory formation. When Shangguan Hai saw Yun Tianyi and Yi Shang, he immediately shouted sinisterly. His entire body exuded an intense killing intent. Not only Shangguan Hai, but also Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin. Obviously, they wanted to kill Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi without any hesitation. They were very confident in their strength, so they didn't bother to hide it. Shangguan Hai, it's you. Upon seeing Shangguan Hai, Yun Tianyi's face immediately turned ugly. Her father had been suppressed by the Shangguan family of Longqi Mountain. Yun Tianyi hated everyone in the Shangguan family to the bone. However, their strength had always been about the same. If not, Yun Tianyi would have thought of a way to kill him long ago. Yun Tianyi, oh, Yun Tianyi. How arrogant are you to enter the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's abode with a piece of trash at the mid-level Divine Feather Realm? Do you think it's so easy to barge into an invincible Divine Lord's cave abode? Shangguan Hai, who was sizing up Night Sorrow, found that he was a mid-level feather god, and immediately laughed at him. Hee, if he's trash, then you're worse than a pig or a dog. You're trash with eyes but no sight. Yun Tianyi couldn't help but laugh at Shangguan Hai, who was ranked 97th on the God of Feathers list, when he ridiculed Night Sorrow, who was ranked at least in the top 30. Yun Tianyi, you're courting death. This is the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave abode, not a sect. No one can protect you. Shangguan Hai, who had been ridiculed, immediately had a murderous look on his face. At this time Ji Hao, who was standing to the side, said impatiently, Shangguan Hai, what nonsense are you talking about? Those who stand in our way must die. Hurry up and do it. You go and kill that mid-level feather god. Okay. Shangguan Hai immediately took out a simple saber and slashed at Night Sorrow fiercely. You're not an invincible feather god, but you dare to come here to try your luck. I really don't know how you got here. Now go to hell. I really don't know how you survived until now with your eyesight. Night Sorrow didn't dodge Shangguan Hai's attack at all. He activated the Essence Smoke and Star's mighty body and directly slapped out with his palm. Shangguan Hai's strength was about the same as Yun Tianyi's. They were no match for each other at all. Night Sorrow didn't bother to talk nonsense with such an opponent. He just slapped him to death. Ant, you're really courting. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't dodge at all, Shangguan Hai wanted to shout that he was courting death. However, before he could say the word, he was slapped into ashes, and his soul was destroyed. Night Sorrow didn't like Wuxia and the people from Longqi Mountain at all. He didn't show any mercy at all. At this time, Lang Ningxin was attacking Yun Tianyi. She was much stronger than Yun Tianyi, so she suppressed her in an instant. Yun Tianyi, who was attacked by Lang Ningxin continuously, couldn't resist Lang Ningxin's ice seal at all. Her movements became very slow, as if she was moving in slow motion. Ji Hao was definitely a ruthless person. When Lang Ningxin restrained Yun Tianyi, he, who had a strong body, immediately launched a sneak attack, trying to smash Yun Tianyi's head. However, Night Sorrow had already killed Shangguan Hai. He turned around to help and slapped Ji Hao away with the strength of his body. What? You're so strong. Where's Shangguan Hai? Is he dead? Ji Hao, who was very confident in the strength of his body, was sent flying by Yi Shang's slap. He immediately revealed a shocked expression. He didn't realize that Shangguan Hai had been killed until then. His surprise immediately turned into shock. Ji Hao didn't expect that a middle-level god of feathers could be so powerful. He killed Shangguan Hai, who was on the God of Feathers list, with one move. Also, his body was stronger than his. He asked in a cold voice, "Who are you?" "The one who's going to kill you." They were already fighting, and Ji Hao wanted to kill Yun Tianyi. Night Sorrow wasn't in the mood to talk nonsense with him. He took the Samsara halberd from his back and directly attacked. With the help of the vanishing shadow void escape, the attack was so fast that Ji Hao couldn't dodge it. No. Ningxin, help me. Ji Hao immediately sensed the aura of death from Night Sorrow's attack. He took out a long sword and shouted for help. 1,000 miles of ice. In fact, Lang Ningxin had been paying attention to the situation even before Ji Hao said anything. She immediately performed her unique skill and used her god realm to slow down Night Sorrow. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to be frozen. Yun Tianyi was almost frozen into an ice sculpture. He wanted to help, but he couldn't, which made him very unhappy. Because this time, he had become a spectator again. He was going to be a hindrance. Yun Tianyi's pride was hurt, but Night Sorrow's action was only slightly delayed. Because he had activated the power of merit. With the help of the power of merit, Night Sorrow's god realm directly broke through Lang Ningxin's suppression. The Samsara halberd pierced toward Ji Hao's dantian without any hindrance. Faced with Night Sorrow's attack, Ji Hao felt like he was locked on. He couldn't dodge at all, so he could only brace himself and use his long sword to block the attack. With a boom, Ji Hao was sent flying. Ji Hao's strength was much weaker than Yan Jiannan's. Moreover, Yan Jiannan could block some of Night Sorrow's attacks because of the Crimson Lotus. Naturally, he couldn't block them. Everlasting Hail. Just then, Lang Ningxin's aura suddenly changed. It became several times stronger as she performed another unique skill. Countless icy raindrops immediately appeared in the sky. Like transparent blades of ice, they continuously stabbed towards Yi Sorrow. How dare you call yourself everlasting? Faced with the endless hail, Night Sorrow couldn't chase after Ji Hao anymore. He raised the Samsara halberd and performed Inferno Demon Subduing. With the support of his powerful strength, Inferno Demon Subduing turned into a fire phoenix and melted all the hail in an instant. Damn it, he's so strong. Lang Ningxin's expression was cold. She didn't expect Night Sorrow to be so strong. Knowing that she had no chance of winning in a one-on-one fight, she transmitted her voice to Ji Hao, run or fight. I'm going to kill him. Ji Hao, who was sent flying by Night Sorrow, replied unwillingly. All right, then let's perform a joint attack. Although Lang Ningxin was cold and heartless, she was Ji Hao's cultivation partner. They had been together for many years. Chapter 2498. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin had great teamwork and were very powerful. They had once used this joint attack to kill the top 30 fighters on the God of Feathers list. Not many people knew about this, so Night Sorrow didn't know about it. Night Sorrow didn't kill Lang Ningxin when he had the upper hand. Instead, he went to Yun Tianyi and helped him get rid of Lang Ningxin's ice. Yun Tianyi's qi, blood, and divine origin energy were all frozen. It took him a while to recover. This battle was a big blow to him. He realized the real gap between him and the fighters on the God of Feathers list. Brother Yi, I've dragged you down again in this battle. Luckily, you're strong enough. Otherwise we would have been killed. Yun Tianyi, whose face was gradually returning to normal, cupped his hands at Night Sorrow and thanked him. I don't think they're that simple. Leave the battle and watch from the sidelines. If there's a chance, help them immediately. Night Sorrow kept an eye on Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin while he was treating Yun Tianyi. He didn't let his guard down. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin gathered together while Night Sorrow was treating Yun Tianyi. After communicating for a while, the two of them cooperated and attacked Night Sorrow together. You're an elite among the God of Feathers if you can force us to use our joint attack. But you're going to die today. Ji Hao, who had been suppressed in the battle, was very frustrated. He shouted while flying. Are they going to fight me in close combat? Good timing. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin didn't use any secret techniques. Instead, they flew toward Night Sorrow, which surprised him. It was Night Sorrow's first time fighting someone in close combat after he left the Endless Bone Realm. Facing the two menacing opponents, he reactivated the Essence Chi Smoke Signal and the Star's Mighty Body, as well as the power of merits. His figure flashed as he used the Vanishing Shadow Escape technique to confront them. Although Yi Shang's body was currently at the intermediate Feather God level, his body had absorbed a large amount of Genesis Essence and was no weaker than an ordinary lower High God. He naturally did not fear two Feather God level opponents. He, who did not have many absolute skills, liked close combat very much. Haha. It seems that you are very confident in the strength of your body. Seeing Night Sorrow approaching, Ji Hao laughed maniacally and transmitted a message to Lang Ningxin. Let's begin. Okay, same as last time. Lang Ningxin nodded and immediately used an even more powerful ice element technique to freeze the surrounding space as soon as she got close to Yi Shang. At the same time, Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin took out their swords and performed their joint attack. Frost Bamboo Rain Sword. Between the heavens and the earth, countless rays of chilling sword qi were released. These sword qis were controlled by Lang Ningxin. They cut through the air and attacked Night Sorrow continuously. This was much more powerful than her infinite frost rain. Faced with so many sword qi in this almost frozen space, Night Sorrow temporarily stopped in his tracks. He stood in the air and used Inferno Demon Subduing to resist the rain of sword qi. The Inferno Demon Subduing's flames were very hot and gradually melted the frozen space. However, this time, it did not completely incinerate the sword qis controlled by Lang Ningxin. The sword qis controlled by Lang Ningxin were still draining Night Sorrow's energy. At this moment, Ji Hao, whose aura and physical strength had obviously improved greatly, put away his sword and took the opportunity to approach Night Sorrow and attack him crazily. How did the two of them increase their strength by several times at the same time? At this moment, Ji Hao's physical strength had increased by more than 10 times compared to before. On the other side, Lang Ningxin, who was using her unique ice skills and frost bamboo rain sword qis to interfere with the fight, her aura also increased greatly. Night Sorrow felt more pressure fighting the two of them under such circumstances than when he faced Yan Jiannan. This made him curious. He could not figure out how the two of them did it. Although he could not figure it out and felt the pressure, Night Sorrow was not completely at a disadvantage. While he was fighting Ji Hao, he found the right opportunity to attack Lang Ningxin. Samsara Strike. However, faced with the reincarnation spear, which was almost unavoidable, Lang Ningxin appeared next to Ji Hao with a telepathic thought. She successfully used this teleportation to dodge the attack. This was the first time Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd missed its target in the God realm, which surprised him. If that attack had hit Lang Ningxin, she would have been severely injured. In that case, Night Sorrow would have been able to deal with the encirclement. Die! After dodging Night Sorrow's attack, Lang Ningxin immediately left Ji Hao's side. Ji Hao, on the other hand, attacked Night Sorrow again. At this moment, Night Sorrow had used Essence Smoke, Star's dominating body, and Power of Merit to gain a slight advantage. However, he could not defeat Ji Hao immediately because every time he used a killer move, Ji Hao would teleport to Lang Ningxin's side. The two of them could teleport to each other's side at will, which was naturally faster than Night Sorrow's attacks. This is troublesome. How did they do it? Night Sorrow's Vanishing Shadow Void release was powerful, but it was not as powerful as Ji Hao's and Lang Ningxin's teleportation, which made him feel powerless. Every time he used a killer move, it was as if he was hitting cotton. However, although the Blue Phoenix armor had been damaged by Shen Yuan's dragon tail, it still had the defensive power of a lower great god. With the armor and his own amazing defensive power, Night Sorrow was not injured. He did not use 7-star Rampage unless he was in a desperate situation. During the battle, he had been carefully observing Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin's cooperation and analyzing how they worked together. However, he did not learn anything. Damn it! When did such a monster appear in the Heartless Realm? Ji Hao, who was fighting Night Sorrow, was actually more uncomfortable than Night Sorrow. It was the first time he had met a feather god whose body was stronger than his. At this point, Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin had already thought of retreating. After all, there was nothing good around them. This battle was purely a battle of wills. They did not want to use more powerful life-saving methods. At this moment, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He noticed that his left eye was absorbing divine origin force on its own. He immediately remembered what Shan Yuan had said. Thinking of the Mirage Dragon's eye, Night Sorrow immediately cooperated with his left eye to absorb the divine origin force even faster. Soon, Night Sorrow's eye glowed. He saw that there was an invisible line between Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin. It must be this line that connects Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin. After analyzing the situation, Night Sorrow continued to attack Ji Hao while sending a message to Yun Tianyi. Cooperate with me later. Attack the spot between Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin. Okay. I will use my most powerful technique. Suddenly receiving Night Sorrow's message, Yun Tianyi, who had been watching on the sidelines, immediately perked up. However, he did not understand why Night Sorrow wanted him to attack the void. Now is the time. Attack now. Don't use your most powerful technique. Just be quick. Night Sorrow, who was fighting Ji Hao, suddenly gave the order. Chapter 2499. Under Night Sorrow's command, Yun Tianyi slashed at the line between Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin as if she had the eyes of a mirage dragon. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin were trying to figure out a way to escape. They didn't expect Yun Tianyi to slash at the line between them. In an instant, the line between them was cut off by Yun Tianyi's sword Qi. Before Night Sorrow could attack again, Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The frost bamboo rain swords in the air were all shattered in an instant. The two of them had obviously suffered a fierce backlash. Forbidden Spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow found an opportunity to condense his divine essence energy and shoot a forbidden spear at Ji Hao. The spear was so powerful that it shook the void. Husband, use your life-saving talisman. Lang Ningxin shouted at the critical moment. She was afraid that Ji Hao wouldn't be willing to use their most powerful talisman. Go to hell. However, she had underestimated Ji Hao's determination. In the face of a life-and-death situation, Ji Hao didn't hesitate at all. He used his half-step Divine Lord talisman and attacked Night Sorrow. What a powerful talisman! This is the full power attack of a half-step Divine Lord. A half-step Divine Lord's attack was equivalent to a half-step Divine Lord's ultimate technique. It was different from a body-refining Divine Lord's attack. After the talisman appeared, it immediately locked onto Night Sorrow, making him feel a chill down his spine. Run! That was Night Sorrow's only thought. He could feel that if he was hit by the talisman, he would lose half his life even if he didn't die. It would take years for him to recover. Ha ha ha! You want to run? Do you think you can? The full power attack of a half-step Divine Lord isn't something a mid-level Divine Feather God like you can dodge. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate at all. He activated the 7-star Berserk Light Shaking Art, adjusting his body to its peak condition in order to dodge this attack. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin both smiled cruelly when they saw Yi Shang running away like a madman. In their opinion, although they had used a life-saving talisman, killing a strong enemy was still beneficial for their trip to the cave. What they didn't know was that there were far more invincible feather gods than they had imagined. Moreover, it wasn't just one or two. Brother Yi, be careful. Seeing Night Sorrow crazily flee, Yun Tianyi felt his heart skip a beat. The aura of a half-step Divine Lord's all-out attack was so great that it caused his mind to tremble. While reminding Night Sorrow, Yun Tianyi didn't hesitate at all. She used a secret technique that had a huge backlash and fled the scene. There was no doubt that she would die if she faced Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin alone. She had no choice but to flee. Damn it! That piece of trash Yun Tianyi got away. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin, who had been watching Night Sorrow, realized that Yun Tianyi had used a secret technique to escape. It was already too late for them to chase after her. Ji Hao cursed angrily. Lang Ningxin smiled coldly and said, "You said it yourself. He's just a piece of trash. It doesn't matter whether he escapes or not. Let's just watch the show." That's true. Even if he meets Yun Tianyi 200 times, he won't be able to defeat her. Ji Hao nodded and continued watching the Divine Talisman chase after Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who had activated the 7-star Berserk Light Shaking Art, used the Vanishing Shadow Void Escape Art to escape at an astonishing speed. However, there were countless arrays nearby. Although he had the help of the Mirage Dragon's Eye, his speed was still affected. He couldn't maintain his top speed all the time. Soon, the Divine Talisman with a terrifying aura was closing in on him. Ji Hao and Lang Ningxin, who were watching from afar, laughed out loud. They were looking forward to seeing Night Sorrow being destroyed by the Divine Talisman. I can't take it head-on. Why don't I hide in the array set up by the Divine Lord and use the array to consume some of the Divine Talisman's power? Night Sorrow, who was running for his life, realized that he couldn't escape. Suddenly, an idea came to him. He used the Mirage Dragon's Eye to find a path and went into the maze that Ji Hao and the others had just come out of. Boom! With a loud sound, the Divine Talisman heavily bombarded the array. It blasted a huge hole in the labyrinth formation that had astonishing defensive power. The Divine Talisman, which had lost most of its power, continued to chase after Night Sorrow, but it wasn't as powerful as before. After using the 7-star Violent Light Shaking Art, Night Sorrow adjusted himself to his strongest state. He no longer tried to dodge. He used the Samsara Halberd and unleashed the Samsara Strike, slamming it against the Divine Talisman. In an instant, the divine talisman was destroyed. Night Sorrow and the Samsara halberd didn't suffer much damage. The maze had a huge hole. Night Sorrow flew out of the maze to seek revenge on Ji Hao and Langning Xin. Run! Run! Use your secret techniques. Ji Hao and Langning Xin, who hadn't killed Night Sorrow even after using their trump cards, were scared out of their wits when they saw that Night Sorrow was fine. They didn't dare to stay any longer and used their secret techniques to escape. You're lucky. I'll kill you the next time I see you. With the help of the sea serpent eye, Night Sorrow could catch up with Ji Hao and Langning Xin. However, he found that Yun Tianyi was in a bad condition and immediately chased after her. The unlucky Yun Tianyi was teleported into the territory of a group of bear-shaped skeletal puppets. These puppets were all low-level high gods. Yun Tianyi had used her secret technique and suffered a great backlash. She couldn't resist at all. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had hurried over at this moment. Taking advantage of the fact that the seven-star berserk had yet to dissipate, he unleashed his might and smashed all of the skeletal puppets to death. Brother Yi, it's you who saved me again. I don't know what to say. I'll follow you in the future. If it weren't for Night Sorrow, Yun Tianyi would have been killed in the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave. As an expert on the Feather God list, he wasn't used to this kind of situation. Night Sorrow patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You don't have to follow me. Protect Haibei City well in the future." Brother Yi, don't worry. I, Yun Tianyi, am rooted in Haibei City. Even if I die in battle, I won't abandon this city. One day, I'll restore it to its former glory. After the rise of the divine King Wuxia, Haibei City had been suppressed very badly. This caused everyone in the Dark Alliance to hold their breaths, especially Yun Tianyi, whose father was suppressed by Langqi Mountain. I believe in you. You'll do it sooner or later. This is a divine soul recovery pill. Take it quickly and recover. After Yun Tianyi suffered a backlash, Night Sorrow, who had taken 2 divine soul recovery pills, handed one to him to help him recover quickly. Thank you, Brother Yi. By the way, I haven't asked about your background. Where are you from, Brother Yi? Yun Tianyi asked as the two of them were recovering and weren't in a hurry. At this point, he had gone through life and death with Night Sorrow. He wasn't as distant as before, so he blurted out these words. I'm from the lower realm. I just ascended to the God realm not long ago. The place where I ascended was near Haibei City. I haven't been to other areas yet. Night Sorrow didn't hold back and slowly revealed his background. You're an ascender. Yun Tianyi was surprised to hear Night Sorrow's words. He said, no wonder Brother Yi has the power of virtue protecting him. It seems like he's from the lower realm. Are there other ascenders in the God realm? Night Sorrow, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground and adjusting his state, asked curiously. Chapter 2500. Yes, of course. Ascenders who come to the God realm usually rise very quickly, and many of them make a name for themselves. The strongest person in the God realm now, Sovereign Tianyi, is from the lower realm. After saying this, Yun Tianyi smiled and said, maybe Brother Yi can also become a sovereign in the future. When that happens, I, Yun Tianyi, can do whatever I want in the God realm. The sovereign position? Haha, I hope so. It was a little far from that level, but Night Sorrow's mind was very firm, and he felt that nothing was impossible. He asked, can you introduce me to the sovereigns of the God realm? Of course. While recovering, Yun Tianyi said, currently, there are a total of 7 known sovereigns in the God realm. They are Sovereign Tianyi, Sovereign Clear Sound, Sovereign Buddha, Sovereign Illustrious, Sovereign Dark Moon, Sovereign All Heaven, and 7 Star. Now, most of the God realm is under their control. As for whether there are other sovereigns, I'm not sure. These sovereigns have varying reputations. After that, Yun Tianyi talked about the reputations of the 7 sovereigns, so that Night Sorrow had a certain understanding. As for the Divine King, who was under the 7 sovereigns, Yun Tianyi couldn't be familiar with him, so he didn't mention this matter. Now that he knew that Night Sorrow was an ascender, he had no background at all. Yun Tianyi then talked about some famous sects in the God realm. The strongest person in some sects was the Divine King, and some were even taken care of by the sovereigns. He suggested that Night Sorrow join such a powerful sect, make a name for himself, and be taken care of by the sect. After all, the God realm was very big, and there were many strong people. If one didn't have a background, it wouldn't be easy even if they were talented. I will seriously consider this matter. Hearing Yun Tiany's suggestion, Knight Sorrow nodded seriously. For someone like him who didn't have a background, this might be the best choice. Otherwise, if he offended the Divine Lord or the Divine King, he could easily be killed. Sects were different from God's domain. Knight Sorrow could accept joining a sect and learning from a master. However, joining God's domain and becoming someone's subordinate was something he would never consider. If he were to join a sect, he would be able to receive the care of experts and find a peaceful place for his family. This was something he did not have the ability to do. If Brother Yi doesn't mind, I can recommend you to join my... As Yun Tiany spoke up to this point, she suddenly exclaimed in surprise and said, I seem to feel something calling out to me. My heart is throbbing non-stop. Could it be a demonic spell? Knight Sorrow, who had completely recovered, asked doubtfully. It doesn't look like it. I feel like my blood is surging, as if I'm being summoned by something familiar. Yun Tiany got up. Guided by her inner feelings, she kept walking forward. Be careful. Knight Sorrow, who was following behind Yun Tiany, used the sea serpent's eye to observe the path he was taking. The two of them traveled more than 1,500 kilometers together and killed 2 lower-level high god skeletal puppets. I can feel it. The thing that led me here is in the grave. After traveling another 250 kilometers, Yun Tiany finally stopped. In front of him was a very inconspicuous grave. The aura in the grave is very peaceful. There's no danger. It should be an opportunity. Knight Sorrow observed with the sea serpent's eye, and didn't sense any dangerous aura. Since it's an opportunity, I'll give it to Brother Yi. It's also a way to repay you for saving my life. Yun Tiany's heart kept throbbing, but she didn't make a move. She was prepared to give the opportunity to Knight Sorrow. In response, Knight Sorrow smiled and refused. This belongs to you. I won't steal a friend's opportunity. Hearing this, Yun Tiany wanted to say something, but a nearly transparent soul suddenly floated out of the grave. This soul looked somewhat similar to Yun Tiany, but it had a beard and looked much calmer. Your grandpa? Seeing this soul, Yun Tiany's voice immediately trembled. Yun Changhe had gone missing when Yun Tiany was very young. The Yun family thought that he had been subdued by someone. They didn't expect him to appear here, and he was already in a soul state. Obviously, he had fallen. Tiany, it's me. Yun Changhe's soul shadow revealed a smile. He handed him a drop of crystal clear blood essence and said, This is the blood essence of our Yun family. It came from the Divine King. Now, Grandpa will give it to you. From now on, you're the new patriarch of the Yun family. Grandpa, how did you fall here? How can I save you? Yun Tiany, who didn't reach out to take the blood essence, knelt on the ground and asked in a trembling voice. Back then, when Grandpa had just broken through to the invincible divine feather realm, I was chased by people from Longqi Mountain. By chance, I escaped here. I didn't expect to fall here. Grandpa's soul wasn't destroyed to be resurrected, but to stay here and wait for the descendants of our Yun family. Now that I've given you the blood essence, Grandpa can die in peace. Yun Changhe's soul phantom was very weak and was about to dissipate. It wasn't that he didn't want to be resurrected, but there was no time to wait for a turn of events. Child, tell Grandpa about your family situation. Yun Tiany was a little sad. Yun Changhe said with a smile. He wanted to hear about his family's situation in his last moments. Grandpa, Yun Tiany, who knew that it was impossible to save Yun Changhe, couldn't help but cry. Choking with sobs, she told Grandpa about the current situation of the Yun family. She swore, Grandpa, don't worry. I'll definitely save Father. Good child. Grandpa knows that you're filial. However, with our Yun family's ability, going against the divine King Wuxia is undoubtedly a dead end. Yun Changhe sighed and said, Grandpa suggests that you take the Yun family out of Haibei City, out of the Wuxia divine domain, and even out of the territory ruled by the Dark Moon. Find another way to develop. Grandpa, I can move my family out of the Wuxia divine domain, but I'll never leave. If it wasn't for Wuxia's suppression, Yun Changhe wouldn't have fallen in the Zhenyuan divine lord's cave, and his father wouldn't have been suppressed. Yun Tiany's hatred for Wuxin had become his motivation to become stronger. Sigh. If that's the case, you should absorb the blood essence well and quickly break through to the High God realm, or even the Divine Lord realm. Yun Changhe wanted to continue to persuade and say a few words to Night Sorrow, but his soul phantom couldn't hold on any longer. After saying that, it completely disappeared. Seeing her grandfather's soul disappearing before her eyes, Yun Tiany, who was holding the blood essence in her hand, burst into tears. My condolences. If you don't want the Yun family to live in Wuxin's shadow forever, the only thing you need to do is to become stronger, so strong that you can go against Wuxin. Yun Tiany cried very sadly. Night Sorrow, who also cherished his family, could empathize with her. After a moment of silence, he spoke to persuade her. Yes. I must quickly become stronger and not let my family continue to be oppressed. Wuxin, I'll definitely kill you with my own hands. Hearing the persuasion, Yun Tiany wiped her tears and sat on the ground, absorbing the Divine King's blood essence in her palm. Don't do it here. Night Sorrow wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Chapter 25:01. Soon, Yun Tiany, who had absorbed the Divine King's blood essence, emitted a thick blood aura. This was clearly too rash. Because the blood aura was too exuberant, the aura that soared into the sky could not be concealed at all. In an instant, the entire plain was alarmed. Not long after, a group of cultivators was attracted. It was Qing Qingzi, Ming Ju, and Huang Lai and Yun Songping, who were ranked 41st and 48th respectively. They had just come out of a trapping array when they immediately discovered the blood aura that soared into the sky. It seems like someone is absorbing the blood essence. Let's hurry over and take a look. If the opponent isn't strong, we'll directly snatch it. Standing thousands of miles away, Huang Lai noticed the scene of bloodlight soaring into the sky and brought the others closer. When they were still 1,500 miles away, they saw Yun Tiany absorbing the blood essence, and only Night Sorrow was protecting her. Huang Lai immediately said excitedly, "This is the Divine King's blood essence. If we can snatch it, there is hope for the future Divine King. Let's go." To the invincible feather god, there were not many things that could interest him. The Divine King's blood essence was clearly one of them. Young sect master, don't be rash. Think about it, when we were at the top of the mountain just now, we saw the two of them being chased by Yan Jianan and the others. Now that they are here intact, it proves that their strength is very likely not inferior to Yan Jianan and the others. Yun Tiany's strength is not considered strong, which means that Night Sorrow is definitely not easy to deal with. Seeing that Huang Lai was about to make a move, Qing Qingzi hurriedly advised. Hearing this, Huang Lai stopped and nodded. There is indeed such a possibility. Qing Qingzi continued. Moreover, Night Sorrow is the virtuous feather god. If the person who deals with him succeeds, it will be good as they will obtain his providence. If they don't succeed, they will be plagued with bad luck. It is not something that ordinary cultivators can withstand. Songping, what do you think? Huang Lai felt that Qing Qingzi's words made sense. He looked at Yun Songping, wanting to ask him what he meant. In fact, the Divine King's blood essence was too tempting for him. He was really unwilling to give it up. If we were outside, I would choose to make a move. However, there were too many variables in the Divine Lord Zhenyuan's cave dwelling. Rather than snatching it, it was better to help them. Night Sorrow is the feather god of merit. If you help him, you might get some good luck. Yun Songping pondered for a moment and voiced his opinion. His strength was about the same as Huang Lai's, but he had always been willing to be a supporting character. However, the two of them had worked together for many years, and most of the time, he was the one who came up with the ideas. That does make sense. The virtuous feather god is indeed very strange. Most people who oppose him don't have a good ending. Ming Ju, who had been silent all this while, chimed in. That's right. If we act rashly, I'm afraid the gains will not make up for the losses. At this moment, Qing Mingzi recalled the conflict between Night Sorrow and the Jubao Pavilion. He immediately understood that Night Sorrow definitely hadn't lowered his head to Feng Xiaoyun. Since that's what you all think, let's go over and help. At the very least, I won't be his enemy in the cave. Huang Lai, who listened to everyone's opinion, nodded. While they were discussing this matter, Yun Tiany's soaring blood qi had already attracted 3 skeleton puppets. These skeletons were quickly killed by Night Sorrow. Facing these skeletons, Night Sorrow was extremely fierce. He didn't want to drag things out and affect Yun Tianyi negatively. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't hold back and easily killed these skeletons, Huang Lai and the others were even more certain of their thoughts. When they were close to Qianli, Qing Mingzi transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Master Night Sorrow, we're here to help. We want to form good karma. If you want to form good karma, stop immediately. Seeing that Huang Lai, Yun Songping, and the others were getting closer and closer, Night Sorrow immediately stopped them. All right, we'll help you clean up the skeletons attracted by Yun Tianyi outside. If there are cultivators coveting it, we won't stand by and do nothing. Qing Mingzi, who received Huang Lai's instructions, continued to communicate with Night Sorrow. If you can do as you say, I'll be very grateful. The skeleton puppets seemed to be very sensitive to the blood qi and kept rushing over. If there were people helping, Night Sorrow's pressure would be reduced by a lot. After he replied, he continued to fight the skeleton puppets that surrounded him. As time passed, more and more skeleton puppets were attracted by the blood qi. Although Night Sorrow was powerful, he couldn't handle it all. Now's the time. Help! Huang Lai and the others, who had waited for an opportunity, fought with the skeleton puppets outside, immediately alleviating the pressure on Night Sorrow. During the battle, they stayed outside and didn't get close to Yun Tianyi. After fighting fiercely with the skeleton puppets for a while, Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and Yun Songping gradually formed a tacit understanding. They formed a triangle and surrounded Yun Tianyi. Ming Ju and Qing Mingzi supported them. They were still a bit weak. The situation was stabilized for the time being. Occasionally, an upper god skeleton puppet would appear, and Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and the others would work together to kill it. Yun Tianyi's blood qi became denser and denser. He kept absorbing the Divine King's blood, making his aura stronger and stronger. There was no doubt that when he finished absorbing the blood qi, his strength would increase qualitatively. At the same time, the Divine King's blood qi that was being absorbed shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yun Tianyi should be able to finish absorbing it soon. Thank you so much for this time. Night Sorrow, who was taking a short breather, saw the Divine King's blood qi being absorbed quickly and expressed his gratitude. This time, without Huang Lai and the others' help, he might not have been able to hold on. After that, the number of skeletons attracted by the blood qi decreased, and their strength increased. However, even if there were upper god skeletons, Night Sorrow, Huang Lai, and the others could still work together to kill them, so there wasn't much pressure on them. At this time, Yun Tianyi's absorption was coming to an end. There was only a tiny bit of the Divine King's blood qi left. He estimated that in less than 2 hours, he would finish absorbing it. But at this time, Yi Shang saw a half-step Divine Lord Bone Ape in the distance, shaking the heavens as it hurried over. This skeleton ape was very large, at least 1,000 feet tall. With every step it took, the ground would tremble, intimidating the other skeleton puppets so much that they didn't dare to move. It was clear that it was the absolute king of this area. A half-step Divine Lord Skeleton Ape. What do we do? It's not something we can kill. Seeing the half-step Divine Lord Skeleton Ape approach step by step, Huang Lai and the others sucked in a cold breath. They didn't have any experience facing a half-step Divine Lord, and they were already panicking before the battle even began. Everyone, I will tie down this skeleton ape. Help me look after Yun Tianyi. If the situation turns bad, you can take the initiative to run away. No matter what, I, Night Sorrow, will remember today's matter. The situation was critical. The good news was that after the half-step Divine Lord Skeleton Ape appeared, the other skeleton puppets didn't dare to move. Moreover, with Yun Tianyi absorbed here, it was meaningless for Huang Lai and the others to try and snatch it away. However, it was unrealistic for Huang Lai and the others to face the half-step Divine Lord Skeleton Ape. It was already good enough that they were willing to help. It was impossible for them to risk their lives. Chapter 2502. The half-step god lords that Night Sorrow had faced in the past were all lacking in strength. Whether it was the dark creatures in the darkness domain or the soul-devouring beast in the cave abode, they all had significant flaws. Although the bone ape in front of him was a skeleton puppet, it was a true half-step god lord. Whether it was the power of its soul or divine origin energy, it had been cultivated to perfection and was very strong. Facing such an opponent, Night Sorrow immediately activated Essence Chi Smoke, Star's hegemonic body, and used Virtue Power and 7-star Berserk Alcade. He adjusted himself to his best state and charged forward. He had the Sea Serpent Eye and could see through some of the surrounding arrays. He was prepared to use the arrays to do something. Raging Flame subdues demons. Night Sorrow, who had soared into the air, was still far away from the Bone Ape when he used Raging Flame subdues demons to block its path and prevent it from charging at Yun Tianyi. Woo! The indomitable Bone Ape was immediately enraged when it was blocked by the vigorous flames. It roared at the sky and chased after Night Sorrow. What strength! Night Sorrow, who had lured the Bone Ape away, was chased by it. He immediately felt as if his soul was being locked on. The Bone Ape's soul was clearly at the half-step God-Lord level. It was not something that he could fight against. He definitely could not escape if he tried to escape like this. Night Sorrow dove into an array set up by God-Lord Jin Yuan to block the Bone Ape's attack, just like when he faced the half-step God-Lord Divine Talisman. Boom! The Bone Ape, who had caught up, swung the giant spiked club in its hand and slammed it into the array. The spiked club was surrounded by a blue light. This was the Bone Ape's divine origin energy. When it hit the array's barrier, it immediately pierced through it. After piercing through the array's barrier, the spiked club went straight for Night Sorrow. What a powerful aura! Night Sorrow wanted to take this attack head-on, but he gave up on this idea for the sake of the overall situation. He used the Void Vanishing Shadow to quickly dodge this attack. Human Cultivator. Dang! Not only did the Bone Ape fail to hit Night Sorrow, but it also suffered a backlash from the formation. It immediately flew into a rage and shouted the word, "Die!" Although it was a puppet, it had a certain level of intelligence and was different from the other puppets in the cave. At the same time, it spat out a mouthful of icy blue flames, which covered the entire formation. Night Sorrow, who was in the middle of the formation, had no way of escaping the blue flames that spread for thousands of miles. He was directly burned. However, the Azure Phoenix battle armor was refined by Jing Yun. It was innately impervious to flames. In fact, it could even absorb the flames to heal the injuries caused by the Mirage Sphere. Roar! The Bone Ape's blue flames had been nurtured by absorbing the essence of the cave abode over several reincarnations. Not only did it not injure Night Sorrow, but it was also continuously absorbed by the Blue Phoenix battle armor. This made it even more furious. He leaped into the air and used his ultimate skill, Golden Ape Suppression. This move was an ultimate skill that the Bone Ape had mastered when it was alive. After it was refined into a puppet, it inherited it. After using it, its body emitted a blinding golden light. As this golden light spread out, it enveloped Night Sorrow along with its divine domain. Night Sorrow, who was suppressed by the Bone Ape's divine domain, could not circulate his divine Yuan force smoothly. This feeling was very uncomfortable, as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Is this the strength of a true half-step Divine Lord? It is indeed difficult to deal with. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Their divine domains were not on the same level. After circulating his power of virtue, Night Sorrow felt slightly better. He guessed that this Bone Ape should be the limit of what he could face. If it was any stronger, his power of virtue would not be effective. Oh well! After using its divine domain to envelop Night Sorrow, the Bone Ape suddenly jumped down from the sky and directly stomped on Night Sorrow's position. This move was obviously more powerful than the mace from before. Night Sorrow, who had just regained his freedom of movement, knew that he could not take it head-on. He used Vanishing Shadow Void Escape and hid in an illusory array set up by Divine Lord Jin Yuan. Boom! Just as Night Sorrow hid in the illusory array, the Bone Ape, whose ferocious nature was completely unleashed, stomped down. The first stomp from the sky shattered the defense of the illusory array. The second stomp was aimed at Night Sorrow. Come on! Samsara Strike! The Bone Ape's attack was extremely ferocious. Although it looked like a golden body attack, it actually contained the suppression of a divine domain. Night Sorrow, who could not dodge in time, could only choose to take it head-on. He used the Samsara Halberd to strike the Samsara Strike into the sky. After being hit by the Samsara Strike, the Bone Ape's aura was slightly weakened. However, it did not stop and stomp down, causing the entire illusory array to sink more than 500 miles. With this stomp, Night Sorrow is likely to die. Our good karma can't be formed. Huang Lai, who was watching from afar, was unhappy when he saw Night Sorrow get stomped by the bone ape. He felt that it was a waste of energy. Furthermore, the current Yun Tianyi basically already finished absorbing the Divine King blood essence. There was no meaning in him snatching it either. Hence, he opened his mouth and said, "This half-step Divine Lord Realm bone ape strength is too strong. It's not what we can contend with. Everyone, hurry up and escape together with me." Okay, let's go straight to the Blue Stone Palace. This bone ape's next target is definitely Yun Tianyi. We should have a high chance of escaping. Let's go. Yun Songping immediately agreed. The bone ape was too ferocious. He did not want to stay for even a moment. Qing Mingzi and Ming Ju were also very afraid. They followed behind Huang Lai and Yun Songping and fled in the direction of the Blue Stone Palace. Just as Yun Songping had predicted, after the bone ape attacked Night Sorrow, it immediately turned back and rushed towards the place where Yun Tianyi was absorbing the Divine King's blood essence. The Divine King's blood essence was very attractive to the bone ape. If it could successfully snatch it away, it was very likely that it would rise to the Divine Lord realm. Roar! Yun Tianyi's blood energy surged. He was still absorbing the blood essence of his ancestor, the Divine King, but there was no one around him to protect him. The bone ape approached and grabbed at Yun Tianyi, wanting to swallow him along with the blood essence. Bastard! How dare you covet the blood essence of the Divine King? Scram! Just as the bone ape was about to grab Yun Tianyi, a phantom rushed out of his body and sent the bone ape flying with a palm strike. The bone ape, whose arm had been shattered by this palm strike, immediately fled in fright. Although the strength of the phantom that attacked it was at the Divine Lord realm, its aura was indeed at the Divine King realm. The bone ape did not dare to face it. At this moment, Yun Tianyi slowly opened his eyes. Seeing the phantom in front of him, he immediately asked in shock, "You are the ancestor, the Divine King of the Cloud Wilderness?" "Yes. However, we can talk about this later. The attack just now drained me too much. I need to recover." The imposing phantom nodded and pointed at the place where Night Sorrow was stepped on by the bone ape. "The people of the Yun clan need to repay kindness. Just now, your friend took a hit from the half-step Divine Lord Bone Ape in order to save you. We don't know if he's dead or alive. Quickly go and find him." With that, he flew back into Yun Tianyi's body. Clearly, he was different from Yun Changhe. He was not at the end of his life yet. "Brother Yi, nothing must happen to you." Chapter 2503. However, when Yun Tianyi entered the broken illusory array, she only saw a huge footprint and did not find Night Sorrow. She did not find him at all. When Yun Tianyi realized that he had recklessly absorbed the blood essence of a god king, and even attracted the attention of a half-step Divine Lord Bone Ape, he was extremely vexed. In the pit that the bone ape had created, he continuously swung his sword to vent his anger. In the end, she could not find any clues. She walked towards the Green Stone Palace to see if Night Sorrow had gone there. It hurts. At this time, Night Sorrow was in a dark sealed space. He slowly opened his eyes. The moment he woke up, Night Sorrow felt a tearing pain all over his body. It was as if every bone in his body had been broken. The half-step Divine Lord Skeletal Ape Stomp had almost crushed him. "Where is this? Why am I here?" Night Sorrow's body was in pain. His body was severely injured, but his spirit sea was not injured. He used his spirit power to explore his surroundings. After exploring, Night Sorrow discovered that he was in a square sealed space. It was empty except for him and the Samsara halberd. He reached for the medicine bottle on his belt. He wanted to take some pills to heal his injuries, but he found that the medicine bottle had all been crushed. Even the spirit recovery pill could not be found. "Without pills, I can only recover slowly. I wonder how Yun Tianyi is now." Night Sorrow, who struggled to get up, sat down on the ground and began to heal his body. After being stepped on by the skeletal ape, he fainted. When he woke up, he was in this place. He did not know the cause and effect. He prepared to completely heal his body and used the Samsara halberd to attack the walls of the sealed space. This was the only way he could think of to escape. After spending 2 years, Night Sorrow's body had completely healed. This time, his body was completely broken and rebuilt. After recovering, it was much stronger. Samsara Strike. Forbidden Spear. Raging flames demon subduing. After his body had completely healed, Night Sorrow continuously attacked the walls of the sealed space. He used the Samsara halberd to bombard it from top to bottom, left to right, but to no avail. Am I going to be trapped here forever? No, absolutely not. There were still many things waiting for him to do. How could Night Sorrow be willing to be trapped here? He activated the Vital Essence Smoke Signal, the star's tyrant body, and the power of merit to bombard the barrier again. However, the result was that he still couldn't shake the barrier of the sealed space. What's going on? Could this be a cage in the cave? Is it specially used to imprison cultivators? As a feather god who could go anywhere, Night Sorrow felt very depressed being locked up in such a confined space. Since he did not gain anything from using brute force, he used his left eye to absorb the divine essence energy. He activated the sea serpent's eye and carefully observed this sealed space. There are formation patterns. After activating the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow immediately saw a complete array formation diagram on the barrier of the sealed space. Compared to what he had seen from the gravel in the passageway and the stones in the hole, the formation patterns were much clearer. Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array? It can use the Divine Essence energy to form an array with a thought and lock the opponent in the array. It is divided into the Feather God level, the High God level, and the Divine Lord level. Seeing the description of the array formation, Night Sorrow immediately became excited. When he was fighting now, his methods were relatively simple. If he could master this array formation, it would definitely become a trump card. This array formation was obviously more useful than ordinary ultimate arts. When used, it could imprison the opponent or even directly seal them. Learn. I have to learn this. This array formation was very useful, and Night Sorrow felt that if he learned it, he might have a chance to break out of the sealed space. He immediately used the sea serpent's eye to carefully observe the composition of the array formation. Night Sorrow's comprehension was originally very high, and he had drunk a lot of enlightenment wine in the Endless Bone region. When learning the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, his progress was rather fast. In less than a year, he could use the Divine Essence energy to set up the Feather God level Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. Open! After learning the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, Night Sorrow immediately saw the door to the sealed space and used the Divine Essence energy to directly disperse it. The sealed space shattered, and he appeared in a core world full of lava. Very good. Among the cultivators who entered the cave abode, your comprehension is indeed the highest. The Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array has a successor, so I can go in peace. What appeared in front of Night Sorrow was a phantom of Divine Lord Jinyuan. He said a sentence and dissipated between heaven and earth. Divine Lord. When Night Sorrow saw Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom, he immediately called out, but it was already too late. At the same time the phantom disappeared, a sentence sounded in his ear. If you want to enter the Greenstone Palace, you have to kill the half-step Divine Lord Realmbone Ape and obtain the key to open the palace. If you want to obtain the opportunity, hurry and think of a way. Without waiting for Night Sorrow to react, he had already returned to the deep pit created by the Bone Ape. In a flash, more than 3 years have passed. I wonder if Yun Tianyi is still alive. After being trampled, he had directly appeared in the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. Now that he had returned, Night Sorrow did not know about Yun Tianyi's situation. Divine Lord Jinyuan's phantom had said that to enter the Greenstone Palace, one had to first kill the half-step Divine Lord Realmbone Ape. This meant that in order to obtain the letter, Night Sorrow had to destroy that colossus. With his strength, it was impossible for him to do so. He could only think of a way to find helpers. Moreover, it was basically impossible for others to kill the Bone Ape. They could not enter the Greenstone Palace, so they should be searching for opportunities nearby. After walking out of the illusion array, Night Sorrow came to the place where Yun Tianyi had absorbed the Divine King's blood essence. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while and returned to the illusion array to take a closer look. He discovered many sword marks and confirmed that Yun Tianyi was not dead at that time. Therefore, he began searching the plains. However, after searching for more than half a month, Night Sorrow did not encounter Yun Tianyi, Huang Lai, or the others. Fortunately, he headed in the direction of the Greenstone Palace. There are sounds of fighting. I finally see people. After traveling for 5 days in the direction of the Bluestone Palace, Night Sorrow killed quite a few skeletal puppets. Finally, at noon, they heard the sounds of cultivators fighting in an ancient forest that stretched up to the sky. Night Sorrow flew out of the ancient forest and immediately rushed in the direction of the sounds of fighting. Soon, he saw the two sides fighting beside a lake that occupied an area of about 100 miles. In the center of the lake, there were two women fighting. One of them was wearing a red palace dress and holding a blood-red silk. At this moment, she had the upper hand and was constantly attacking. The one she was suppressing was a beautiful woman who was completely naked. The woman was tall and curvy, and her body was covered with sparkling and translucent water droplets. It was obvious that she had suffered a sneak attack while bathing in the lake, causing her to be unarmed and naked. Being suppressed, her face was flushed red. Clearly, she was embarrassed and angry. She wanted to return to the shore to retrieve her clothes and divine artifact, but she was suppressed to the point that she had no chance at all. See no evil. See no evil. Seeing this scene, Night Sorrow immediately retreated in embarrassment and prepared to change his path. Chapter 2504. Chen Chuya, you're courting death. Today Yao Shi will kill you. Hearing Chen Chuyue's evil teasing, Yao Shi, who was ranked 9th on the Feather God list with Chen Chuyue and was known as one of the two beauties of the Feather God realm in the Dark Moon's Dominator region, became completely cold. A male cultivator appeared. Yao Shi condensed her divine essence and turned it into a light blue protective mist. Her whole body seemed to be covered in a layer of mist. This had some impact on her strength, but she had no other choice. At the same time, she struck several hand blades made of divine essence in Chen Chuyue's direction. Haha, we've been fighting for more than a year or two. When have we not been evenly matched? Otherwise, we wouldn't be ranked 9th on the Feather God list. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Facing Yao Shi's hand blades, Chen Chuyue easily used the red armillary sash in her hand to shatter them. She pretended to look in Night Sorrow's direction and teased. Look at that male cultivator. His eyes are fixed on you. It seems that our fairy Yao Shi is quite something. What the hell is he looking at? Hearing this, Night Sorrow, who had already turned around and ran away, muttered speechlessly. He didn't have the hobby of peeking, so he chose to leave immediately. You deserve to die. Being teased like this, Yao Shi attacked again in shame and anger, but she was completely naked. She didn't have a defensive robe or a divine artifact, and her mind was in a mess. How could she have the upper hand? She was quickly suppressed again. She wanted to go back to the shore and put on her clothes, but she didn't have the chance. After all, in her normal state, she was only on par with Chen Chuyue every time. It was normal for her to be at a disadvantage now. At this time, she felt helpless in her shame and anger. Hee, I'm not sure if I'll die or not, but you'll definitely be more famous in the Dark Moon Dominator's area. Chen Chuyue took the initiative and teased Yao Shi. Then, she waved her hand and shot a flame toward Yao Shi's clothes. Humph. My robe is a taboo divine tier magic robe. Do you think you can destroy it with your nondescript flames? Yao Shi, who was extremely confident in the robe, ignored Chen Chuyue's flames and attacked her again. She wanted to use this opportunity to suppress her, and find an opportunity to get closer to the robe and the divine artifact. Haha, who said I wanted to burn your clothes? If Fairy Yao Shi's undergarment were to be auctioned, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. When Chen Chuyue saw that Yao Shi had not been able to disperse the flame she had conjured, a triumphant smile appeared on her face. The flame she shot out suddenly turned into a goshawk. It picked up Yao Shi's white silk bellyband and quickly flew into the sky. You're shameless. Seeing her bellyband being taken away, Yao Shi was so angry that her face turned ashen. At this time, she was blocked by Chen Chuyue and couldn't catch up. She could only watch as the goshawk flew away. After thinking for a while, Yao Shi, who had no other choice, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Friend, please take my clothes back from the goshawk. I, Yao Shi, am a grateful person. I will remember your favor this time. Night Sorrow, who didn't expect Yao Shi to send a voice transmission to him, was already some distance away. Hearing Yao Shi's voice transmission, he suddenly had an idea. This Yao Shi is an expert ranked 9th on the God of Feathers list. If she helps, it will be much easier for me to kill the bone ape. Gu Yu, a half-step divine lord, wasn't someone he could deal with alone. With an additional helper, he had a higher chance of killing the bone ape. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow replied, "Okay, I can help you get your clothes back. But the condition is that you help me once. What do you think?" Yan Jiannan, ranked 27th on the God of Feathers list, was quite strong. He guessed that the 9th-ranked Yao Shi's strength must be terrifying. She might even be stronger than him. "I can promise you that. But I won't help the evildoer do something shameless for you." Yao Shi, who was confronting Chen Choyue, immediately agreed without hesitation. She knew that if she didn't agree, the belly band would disappear. "It's a deal." After receiving Yao Shi's affirmation, Night Sorrow immediately used the void vanishing shadow escape and chased after the fire hawk. This fire hawk was casually created by Chen Choyue. It wasn't very fast, and it didn't have much fighting strength. Soon, he caught up to the fire hawk and took back Yao Shi's white belly band. "Oh, weren't you being quite honest just now?" After Night Sorrow took the belly band, Chen Choyue teased her. Yao Shi, who knew that Night Sorrow was helping her, was so angry that her face turned purple. "I've taken your things. How can I return them to you?" Night Sorrow, who had snatched the belly band, immediately sent a sound transmission to Yao Shi. Yao Shi, who received the sound transmission, helplessly replied, "Wait a moment. I'll see if I can find a way to shake Chen Choyue off." After saying this, Yao Shi used a secret technique to shake off Chen Choyue, but she still didn't succeed. "If I help you control her and let you successfully put on your clothes and take back the divine artifact, can you help me get something from this trip to the cave residence?" Seeing that Yao Shi couldn't shake off Chen Choyue, Night Sorrow, who was about 1,000 miles away, sent another sound transmission. He felt that if he could get Yao Shi's help, his chances of getting the letter from the Divine Lord of Zhenyuan would be much higher. You want to stop Chen Choyue with the strength of a mid-level divine feather? You have to know that she's an expert ranked in the top 10 of the divine feather list. She can destroy your divine soul with a casual strike. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yao Shi was clearly tempted. However, she didn't believe that Night Sorrow had the ability to stop Chen Choyue. After all, she and Chen Choyue were the rulers of the divine realm of the Dark Moon. They were the strongest fighters in the divine feather realm. You don't have to think about this. You just have to choose whether you agree or not. Night Sorrow wasn't confident that he could defeat an expert ranked in the top 10 of the divine feather list. However, he felt that it wouldn't be too difficult to stop her. "What do you want?" "If it's the Divine Lord of Zhenyuan's soul-strengthening method, I won't agree. It's my chance to shake off Chen Choyue." Yao Shi, who was fighting, immediately responded. Her ultimate goal in this trip to the cave residence was to obtain the soul-strengthening method of the Divine Lord of Zhenyuan. Naturally, she wouldn't give in. "What I want is the letter in the deepest part of the Divine Lord of Zhenyuan's cave residence," Night Sorrow explained. He then asked, "It's up to you whether you want me to help. I won't take advantage of you. Besides, if I help you, I'll be risking offending Chen Choyue. You have to understand this. In exchange for your help, it's not too much to ask." "All right, I'll believe you this once." Yao Shi didn't know where Night Sorrow's confidence came from, but she had no other choice. She agreed without hesitation. "Don't worry. I'll get you out of this predicament very soon." After replying to Yao Shi, Night Sorrow walked out of the forest and returned to the lakeside. Standing on the ground, he looked at Chen Choyue, who was still fighting, and said, "Fairy Choyue, Fairy Yao Shi has already lost all face today. Why don't you let her off? Let her put her clothes back on, and the two of you can have a fair fight. What do you think?" "Mid-level divine feather realm ant. Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? I'll give you 3 breaths of time to get out of your Majesty's sight. Otherwise, I'll kill you." Chapter 25:05. Her tone was full of disdain and contempt. Obviously, she thought that Night Sorrow was like a dog to her. He had no right to speak. "You want my life?" Chen Choyue's arrogance made Night Sorrow laugh. "You can try. I want to see just how strong you are, as someone ranked in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list." He was going to persuade Chen Choyue to stop. If that failed, he would at most stop her. He didn't expect that she would look down on him like this. This immediately aroused his fighting spirit. The top 10 on the Feather God list were definitely not easy to deal with, but Night Sorrow wasn't afraid. You don't know what's good for you. Chen Chuiyue, who was fighting Yao Shi, threw a silver needle at Night Sorrow's face. Although this was a casual attack from Chen Chuiyue, it was more than enough to kill an upper-level Feather God. She thought that it would be easy to kill Night Sorrow. You want to kill me with this attack? Chen Chuiyue's silver needle could deal with an upper-level Feather God, but it was no threat to Night Sorrow. He caught it with 2 fingers and threw it at Chen Chuiyue. This attack was obviously several times stronger than Chen Chuiyue's. It had the strength of an invincible Feather God. Oh, you're strong. I underestimated you. Chen Chuiyue, who was fighting Yao Shi, used her body movement to dodge this attack. She obviously didn't expect Night Sorrow to have the strength of an invincible Feather God. Her expression changed and she threatened, "Get out of here if you know what's good for you. Your Majesty can ignore what just happened. Otherwise..." "No, otherwise you're nothing in front of me. Don't put on airs with me." It would have been fine if Chen Chuiyue didn't threaten him. As soon as she spoke, Night Sorrow used Vital Essence Smoke and Star's hegemonic body. He also took out the Samsara halberd and slashed. In an instant, he cut through the void and went straight for Chen Chuiyue. "You're courting death." Seeing Night Sorrow attack, Chen Chuiyue felt that she was being provoked. She immediately became furious and attacked him with the red armillary sash in her hand. The red armillary sash was of the same level as the Samsara halberd. They collided and ended in a tie. When Yao Shi saw that Chen Chuiyue and Yi Shang were engaged in battle, she immediately seized the opportunity to rush to the lakeside. In a naked battle, she was completely unable to let loose, and her battle prowess could not even reach 60%. At this moment, she realized something. Although she couldn't summon her clothes just now, she could summon her divine equipment in battle. Frosty brow. I was so angry that I made such a stupid mistake. Yao Shi had always been known as a fairy in the realm of the gods. Today she was in such a predicament. She was obviously unstable in the battle and made such a mistake. It's impossible for you to kill me with such a powerful attack. Come, let me see what kind of strength you have. Someone ranked in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list. At the same time, Night Sorrow and Chen Chuiyue were still fighting. Chen Chuiyue's attack was about the same level as Jian Nanshan's. Obviously, she was still holding back. Night Sorrow didn't even use the power of merit to block the attack. So you're in the top 30 of the God of Feathers list. After Night Sorrow blocked the attack, Chen Chuiyue's expression immediately became serious. She originally thought that she could kill Night Sorrow in one move. Even if Yao Shi put on her clothes, she could still escape unscathed. However, if Night Sorrow didn't die and cooperated with Yao Shi, he would be a huge threat to her. Looks like I have to use some method to kill him. Yao Shi returned to the lakeside to put on her clothes. It would probably only take a few seconds. Chen Chuiyue felt that she had to kill Night Sorrow before she returned to the battle. Therefore, she used a secret technique without hesitation and adjusted her divine realm to its strongest state. She threw out the red armillary sash and used an ultimate technique. Samsara Strike. In the face of Chen Chuiyue's attack, Night Sorrow used the power of merit and adjusted himself to his best state. He used the Samsara halberd to attack with the Samsara Strike. The golden spear light from the Samsara halberd collided with the red light from the red armillary sash. After the Samsara Strike, the aura of the red armillary sash weakened. However, Chen Chuiyue was ranked in the top 10 of the God of Feathers list. Although the aura of the red armillary sash weakened, it successfully entangled the Samsara halberd and fixed it in the air. Then, it split into 8 parts and attacked Night Sorrow. The fixed Samsara halberd immediately released flames. However, it didn't burn the red armillary sash. It didn't even burn it. Obviously, the level of the red armillary sash was higher than the flames of the Samsara halberd. Night Sorrow, who couldn't retrieve the Samsara halberd, could only face Chen Chuiyue's red armillary sash with his bare hands. Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. It was obviously impossible to take Chen Chuiyue's red armillary sash head-on. At this moment, Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent Eye to see the trajectory of the red armillary sash and Chen Chuiyue's location. He used his divine essence to form an array with a thought. He directly trapped Chen Chuiyue in the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. After losing Chen Chuiyue's control, the red armillary sash's power immediately weakened. Night Sorrow easily took it. What kind of move is this? After being trapped in the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array by Night Sorrow, Chen Chuyue immediately activated her Divine Essence, wanting to shatter the sealed space. However, the sealed space formed by the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array was undamaged. How can this be? After failing to shatter the sealed space with her Divine Essence, Chen Chuyue immediately condensed her Divine Essence into her palm and continuously attacked the barrier of the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array. After being attacked continuously, the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array was quickly shaken. Speaking of which, Night Sorrow's cultivation level was still too low. He was only a middle-level feather god. His Divine Essence was too different from Chen Chuyue's. The strength of the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array was limited. After being attacked crazily, it couldn't hold on for long. However, this time was enough. At this moment, Yaoshi had already finished dressing and flew to Night Sorrow's side. Sensing the fluctuations in the void, she knew that Night Sorrow had used some method to trap Chen Chuyue inside. She looked at Night Sorrow with a hint of vigilance. Without a doubt, if Night Sorrow was a threat to Chen Chuyue, he was a threat to her. At this moment, Yaoshi completely stopped looking down on Night Sorrow. She said, "Thank you for your help today. I will keep my promise and help you snatch the letter. My name is Yaoshi. I am from Tianxian School." Although she knew that the other party knew her name, Yaoshi still introduced herself. This way they could be considered acquaintances. Yaoshi, who was neatly dressed and wearing a white feather robe, instantly regained her usual otherworldly temperament. She had a coldness that kept people thousands of miles away. "My name is Night Sorrow. I am an itinerant cultivator. I have not joined any sect or faction." Yaoshi was a little cold, but she didn't give people the feeling that she was cold and arrogant. Night Sorrow nodded in response. An itinerant cultivator with no background actually has such strength? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yaoshi was clearly a little surprised. She wanted to say something. Chapter 2506. She shattered the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Formation that Night Sorrow had constructed with his Divine Origin energy. Chen Chuyue, her face full of murderous intent, immediately recalled her red armillary sash across the air. Standing 150 kilometers away from Night Sorrow and Yaoshi, she coldly threatened Night Sorrow. "You'd better not be alone in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's abode. If I find a chance, I'll definitely kill you." With Night Sorrow and Yaoshi standing together, Chen Chuyue naturally wouldn't choose to fight one against two. Thoughts of retreat sprouted in her heart. In the process of fighting Night Sorrow just now, she still had many tricks up her sleeve. If they met again, she was confident that she would make him suffer. "I'll be waiting for you." Night Sorrow didn't take Chen Chuyue's threat seriously at all. She might be a bit stronger than him, but the possibility of her killing him in the Jinyuan Divine Lord's abode was next to nothing. "I didn't expect you, Fairy Yaoshi, who claims to be as pure as ice and as pure as jade, to have a lover now. We'll have plenty of time in the future." Before leaving, Chen Chuyue didn't forget to tease Yaoshi. In the face of Chen Chuyue's teasing, Yaoshi retorted sarcastically, "No matter what, it's better than being a nuisance like you." Let's wait and see. There was a story behind Yaoshi's words. Night Sorrow didn't understand, but Chen Chuyue understood. Her face instantly turned ugly, and she left the forest after saying that. Next, where does Fairy Yaoshi want to go? Night Sorrow immediately asked after Chen Chuyue left. Now that you've offended Chen Chuyue, with her personality, she'll definitely keep following you and looking for an opportunity to attack. I'd better stay by your side. That way, I'll be able to look after you, Yaoshi said coldly. If she is such a person, then what I want to do next will be difficult. Night Sorrow carried the heavenly Samsara halberd on his back, and tidied up his robe that was messy due to the battle. He continued, according to reliable sources, in order to open the Bluestone Palace, one must kill a half-step Divine Lord Realm Bone Ape and obtain the relevant key. I want you to help me find some helpers to kill the Bone Ape. If he offended Chen Chuyue and was targeted by her, it was very likely that he would be ambushed by her if he fought with the Bone Ape. This was very dangerous. Now, even though Night Sorrow had obtained the help of someone in the top 10 of the Feather Gods list, he had also offended someone who was as strong as her. Things had become difficult for him, and he needed to find more helpers. So this is the only way to enter the Bluestone Palace. No wonder no one could find the entrance to the palace. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yaoshi suddenly understood. Out of respect, she did not ask about Night Sorrow's sources. Did you see Yun Tianyi in the cave? Night Sorrow asked. He knew that the people on the Feather Gods list were all relatively famous. Even though Yun Tianyi was ranked 100, Yaoshi had definitely heard of him. Yun Tianyi? I saw him fighting Yan Jianan outside the Bluestone Palace. His strength seemed to have increased quite a bit, but he was no match for Yan Jianan. He was severely injured in the battle. Yaoshi recounted what she had seen. For a period of time, many cultivators had gathered in front of the Bluestone Palace. At that time, many battles had occurred. In the end, he escaped? Night Sorrow was worried that Yun Tianyi had been severely injured. After all, the two of them had entered the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave together. They were partners who supported each other. At that time, he didn't escape. When he was severely injured and was about to be killed by Yan Jianan, a shadow with a powerful aura suddenly emerged from his body and injured Yan Jianan. In that battle, the two of them were evenly matched. After the battle, they left the Bluestone Palace's main entrance one after the other, Yaoshi said faintly. It seems that the blood essence of the Divine King he absorbed is not simple. In that case, the sacrifice back then was worth it. Night Sorrow was very pleased that Yun Tianyi's strength had increased. As they walked out of the forest, he asked curiously, "Not many people know that the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave has opened. How did you and Chen Chuyue get the news?" A smile appeared on Yaoshi's face when she heard that. She asked, "Do you know why we've been staying at the Divine Feather Realm?" "Why?" Night Sorrow naturally knew more about this matter, but he could see that Yaoshi was implying something, so he let her continue. "Naturally, it's to cultivate the Feather God realm to perfection and lay a good foundation for the Divine King's path. Otherwise, with the talent of Chen Choyue and I, we would probably be Divine Lords by now." Yaoshi explained, then continued, "After cultivating to our level, it's no longer possible to rely on cultivation to increase our strength. We can only look for opportunities everywhere. The appearance of the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave naturally wouldn't be hidden from us. After all, many things in the divine realm can be calculated. So that's how it is. It seems that every expert on the Feather God list has the determination to break through to the Divine King or Sovereign level. I really envy experts like you who can break through to the High God realm at any time." What Yishan lacked the most right now was cultivation. He couldn't help but sigh. What others needed was to accumulate a foundation, but what he needed was the cultivation that others didn't care about the least. "I really envy you. You're already so strong as a mid-level feather god." Yao Shi, who felt that Night Sorrow had great potential, was very envious of him. The two chatted as they walked in the direction of the Bluestone Palace. Night Sorrow decided to find Yun Tianyi first, then discuss how to deal with the bone ape. Because Night Sorrow had the sea serpent's eye, they didn't accidentally enter any formations along the way. Soon, they arrived in front of the Bluestone Palace. The palace door couldn't be opened, and there was no one guarding it. When they got close, Yaoshi pointed at a blood-stained area in front of the door and said, "That's where Yun Tianyi and Yan Jianan fought. Let's go take a look and see if we can find any clues." "Yes, that's the only way." Night Sorrow nodded, then went to the area where the two fought and observed. After watching for a while, he sighed and said, "You've improved a lot. I wonder where you went." "Brother Yi, it's great to see that you're fine." Unexpectedly, just as Night Sorrow spoke, Yun Tianyi's figure appeared in the sky in the distance. He stood in the sky and saw Night Sorrow at the entrance of the palace. He immediately flew down. "Is this sister-in-law?" Yun Tianyi glanced at Yao Shi and saw a beautiful woman standing beside Night Sorrow. He immediately asked this question. After blurting out this sentence, he finally realized who it was. Wasn't this beautiful woman in front of him Yao Shi, who was ranked 9th on the Feather God list, along with Chen Chuyue? This is Yao Shi, and this is Yun Tianyi. Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi knew each other, but they didn't really know each other. Night Sorrow introduced them. He then explained, "Yao Shi and I are friends who have just met." "Oh, so that's how it is." Yun Tianyi had naturally heard of Fairy Yao Shi's name, so he didn't say anything rash. Then he said, Brother Yi, now that we can't enter the Blue Stone Palace, what should we do? There is a way to enter the Blue Stone Palace, and that is to kill the half-step Divine Lord Skeletal Ape and obtain the key to open the door. Knight Sorrow explained the matter of the Skeletal Ape and asked for their opinions. I think that the three of us already have the strength to challenge the Skeletal Ape. Why don't we try it now? What do you think? We can take revenge on it. Hearing that there was a way to open the Blue Stone Palace, Yun Tianyi immediately became excited. His strength had increased greatly, and so had his confidence. With our strength, we might be able to fight the Skeletal Ape, but if Chen Qiuyue ambushes us, it will be very difficult. Yao Shi, on the other hand, voiced her concerns. She knew Chen Qiuyue's personality very well. She was the kind of person who would never give up. That's a problem. Why don't we? After pondering for a moment, Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi. Okay. That works. Chapter 2507. Knight Sorrow's plan was very simple. Didn't Chen Qiuyue like to stick around and stalk people? Then they would set up a trap to lure her in. They would challenge the half-step Divine Lord Bone Ape and then pretend to be injured. They would then shake off the Bone Ape and escape into the array formation on the plain. Doing this would be very difficult for others. But Knight Sorrow had the Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array, and could temporarily restrain the Bone Ape. Moreover, he could use the Clam Dragon Eye to choose a suitable array formation. As long as the array formation was good enough to conceal its aura, they could successfully shake it off. However, he had an ulterior motive. Getting rid of the Bone Ape was not his real goal. If Chen Qiuyue was secretly observing them, she would definitely choose to do something bad and lead the Bone Ape to the array formation they were in. If that happened, Chen Qiuyue would be exposed. She would no longer be in the dark while Knight Sorrow and the others would be in the light. If the two of you don't have any objections, then let's do it like this. After explaining his plan, Knight Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the two of them. The play must be realistic, but make sure you don't get heavily injured. It's fine as long as it looks miserable. Once Chen Qiuyue comes out, don't hesitate and immediately attack. If they wanted to kill the half-step Divine Lord Bone Ape and obtain the key to the Stone Palace, they had to deal with Chen Qiuyue. Since they had decided on a plan, Knight Sorrow was prepared to cut the Gordian knot and immediately take action. Okay. I feel that although this plan is simple, Chen Qiuyue will definitely fall for it. Yao Shi thought for a moment, then coldly said, what if there are others? In addition, the Bone Ape itself is a problem that needs to be considered. She naturally carried a trace of coldness and ethereal aura, but she was still rather easygoing. Just adapt to the situation. In this cave, I should be able to trap anyone. Knight Sorrow replied confidently. His Divine Essence Dragon Lock Array could indeed trap any feather god. It was just that the time it could trap them was different. In addition, he could see through all the array formations on the plain. This was a great advantage. As for the Bone Ape, it was a double-edged sword that was not easy to control. Since it was difficult to control, there was no need to think too much about it. The battle was over. After all, they had the same chance as Chen Qiuyue when facing the Bone Ape. Well, since that's the case, let's take action immediately. Yao Shi felt that Knight Sorrow was bold and meticulous. There was no problem with this plan, so she suggested that they take action. At this time, knowing some of Knight Sorrow's means and his great potential, Yao Shi had already regarded him as an existence similar to her own. In the area dominated by the Dark Moon, this was the second feather god who was recognized by her. As for Yun Tianyi, although her strength had increased after she rashly absorbed the Divine King's blood essence, she was more focused on Knight Sorrow. Naturally, there was no problem for him. Let's go and find the Bone Ape. Now, everything was ready except for the Bone Ape. Knight Sorrow said and took the lead. His sea serpents I could see through many arrays, but he pretended to fall into them a few times and spent about a month. This was to exhaust Chen Qiuyue's patience and to dispel some of her doubts. About 3 months later, the three of them found the Bone Ape in a huge collapsed rift valley. At this time, the Bone Ape was wandering aimlessly in the rift valley. From time to time, it would hit the ground with its fists violently, causing the surroundings to tremble. The rift valley occupied by the Bone Ape covered a large area. It was about 20,000 miles wide and hundreds of thousands of miles long. Most of the area was desolate and cracked brown land. There were some hills and forests in a few areas. Apart from the bone ape, there were no other skeletal puppet creatures. Obviously, they were either killed or scared away by it. There doesn't seem to be any arrays in this valley. I'll lure it up. Let's test its strength first. After observing the valley for a while, Night Sorrow looked at Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi beside him and flew towards the bone ape. When they were about 5,000 miles away, Night Sorrow waved the Samsara halberd in mid-air and used the Inferno demon slaying technique. In an instant, a large flame covered the entire area within 5,000 miles of where the bone ape was. Oh woo! The bone ape, which was suddenly burned by the flame, immediately hammered its chest angrily. Then, it chased after Night Sorrow, half running and half jumping. Human cultivator. Dang! Although the bone ape wasn't flying, it was very fast. It didn't take long for it to catch up with Night Sorrow. When they were about 2,000 miles away, it suddenly let out a wild roar. This was a sound wave attack. The word die was like a heavy hammer that bombarded Night Sorrow's head. He suddenly felt dizzy, as if his head was about to explode. Although his soul was strong, Night Sorrow still needed a while to recover from the absent-mindedness. In this way, the bone ape's next close-range attack had already arrived. It jumped up, raised its fists in the air, and smashed down heavily. Samsara spear. In the face of this attack, Night Sorrow immediately used the Essence Chi smoke beacon, the star's tyrannical body, and the power of merit. He used the Samsara halberd to use the Samsara strike. This move immediately weakened the bone ape's attack. However, last time, Night Sorrow's bones were all broken by the bone ape's foot. He didn't dare to take it head-on. After reducing the bone ape's attack, he didn't hesitate to use the Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array. The Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array isolated the ferocious bone ape in mid-air. The Divine Origin Dragon Locking Array only trapped the bone ape for less than 5 breaths before it was completely shattered. However, Night Sorrow had already escaped from the Rift Valley and returned to the plains. Beside him, Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi were already prepared. At this time, Night Sorrow's divine soul was only a little shaken, but he wasn't seriously injured. However, he still pretended to be seriously injured and spat out a lot of blood. This blood contained the remains of his shattered lungs. Then, he asked Yun Tianyi for 2 elixirs and swallowed them. It's coming! Watch me! Night Sorrow pretended to be injured. Yun Tianyi understood tacitly and shot out sword light to meet the bone ape. After absorbing the Divine King's blood essence, his strength had increased greatly. The strength of his aura was about the same as Huang Lai and Yun Tsongping. However, it was naturally impossible to stop the half-step Divine Lord Realm bone ape with just this little bit of strength. Soon, the bone ape let out another roar and rushed over. Even Night Sorrow didn't dare to take the bone ape's attack head-on. Yun Tianyi was even more afraid. When he saw the bone ape chasing after him, he immediately retreated. At this time, Yao Shi, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, began to silently recite an incantation. She also took out a bronze bell from her waist. The bronze bell was activated by the incantation and immediately emitted Sanskrit sounds. These Sanskrit sounds seemed to turn into a line that constantly shot towards the bone ape and slowed it down. This way, Yun Tianyi was able to safely escape. Careful! The bone ape didn't chase after Yun Tianyi. It immediately chased after Yao Shi. Just like how it dealt with Night Sorrow, it jumped into the air and smashed down with its fists. Frost Brow Sword. Facing the bone ape's violent attack, Yao Shi, Night Sorrow, and Yun Tianyi made different choices. After she activated her god domain, she used the High God Taboo Divine Artifact, Frost Brow Sword, to take the bone ape's attack head-on. Careful, the bone ape's attack isn't simple. Chapter 2508. The last time, Night Sorrow was trampled by the bone ape, nearly ending up with the outcome of being smashed to smithereens. He was somewhat apprehensive of the bone ape's close-range attacks. Seeing that Yao Shi actually chose to receive this move head-on, he was naturally incomparably worried, afraid that she would suffer very serious injuries accidentally. If she was seriously injured, this time, it might really let Chen Qiuyue find an opportunity. Rumble. The bone ape's movements were extremely fast. Yao Shi was also the same. Night Sorrow wanted to stop it, But it was naturally too late. In a blink of an eye, one person and one ape collided together. This time, it was indeed the bone ape that took the advantage, blasting the ground where Yaoshi was at until it caved in. For some time, it shook the surrounding several 100,000 miles until it shook non-stop. Yaoshi, are you all right? Smoke and dust billowed in the deep pit. At the same time that Night Sorrow used divine soul power to investigate, he transmitted his voice to Yaoshi to confirm her condition. I'm fine. My injuries aren't serious. But just nice, I can pretend to be seriously injured. My frost brow folding sword is known to cut through all men in the divine world. It never retreats in battle. If it retreats, it will affect the sword spirit. In the process of transmitting, Yaoshi explained why she forcefully withstood this attack. So that's how it is. Didn't expect that a person from a painting like you would actually be so domineering when fighting. After praising Night Sorrow, his hands were not idle. He fired out the Divine Essence Dragon Locking Array, temporarily trapping the bone ape, creating an opportunity for Yaoshi to escape. Thank you. This bone ape is rather hard to deal with. Probing slightly, Yaoshi discovered that this half-step Divine Lord Realm bone ape was seriously not easy to deal with to them, these feather gods. No worries. Although this bone ape's strength is formidable, its intelligence isn't high. This is its greatest weakness. As long as our tactics are reasonable, there's a chance to kill it. At present, it's still taking care of Chen Chuyue first. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yaoshi and shouted, Yaoshi is injured. Yun Tianyi, take her away. We can't fight this bone ape. We have to retreat immediately. Yaoshi took the bone ape's attack head-on. This was not fake at all, and the effect was already evident. Even Night Sorrow was unable to determine the extent of Yaoshi's injuries. He felt that this was enough. Alas, it seems that the key to the Bluestone Palace is not fated to be with us. This trip to the cave has come to an end. Yun Tianyi, who was protecting Yaoshi, shouted out the lines that Night Sorrow had designed. Their retreat route was in the opposite direction of the Bluestone Palace. This was the way back. Hee, Yaoshi, stop pretending. You just want to trick me into coming out. Your Majesty is here. What can you do? At this moment, to their surprise, Chen Chuyue actually chose to show herself. She actually came out? Chen Chuyue's sudden appearance surprised Night Sorrow, who was luring the bone ape away. At this moment, he realized that he had underestimated the courage of the top 10 experts on the God of Feathers list. Whether it was Yaoshi, who took the bone ape's attack head-on, or Chen Chuyue, who appeared now, they both seemed to be people with courage. They could be considered as women who did not lose out to men. Since you've come out, then die. Yaoshi, who was still brooding over the naked battle, immediately waved her frost brow sword and attacked Chen Chuyue when she saw her appear. Io, are you unable to restrain your anger because you thought of the naked battle? Don't be afraid. Night Sorrow did not use the image stone to record it. This matter will not spread in the God Realm. Chen Chuyue did not forget to mock Yaoshi as she activated her God Realm and blocked the attack with her red armillary sash. You deserve to die. Chen Chuyue had brought up her sore spot, and Yaoshi's face, which had already been somewhat cold, was immediately covered in frost. She used her ultimate skill right away. Brow overturning sea sword. In an instant, the void was like a sea that had exploded. Countless ripples surged out and attacked Chen Chuyue. Ha! Didn't you just let a man see your body? Do you have to fight so hard? Chen Chuyue and Yaoshi were both ranked 9th on the God of Feathers list. Naturally, they were not afraid of Yaoshi using her ultimate technique. As the battle continued, she asked, was what Yun Tianyi said the truth? As long as we kill the bone ape, we can obtain the key to the stone palace, right? You're about to die. Why are you still asking these questions? Yun Tianyi, what are you doing in a daze? Come and help. At this moment, Night Sorrow was luring the bone ape away. Only Yun Tianyi was free. Yaoshi immediately asked him to help. Okay. Coming. Chen Chuyue's words were very explosive. Yun Tianyi was still digesting them. Yi Shang had seen the body of fairy Yaoshi, who was said to be as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Wasn't this a little too shocking? When he heard Yaoshi's call, he immediately activated his God Realm and activated his ultimate technique, the non-phase sword array. Although he was not as strong as Yao Shi and Chen Choyue, the attack power of the sword array was not low. It immediately posed a threat to Chen Choyue. This half-step Divine Lord Realm Bone Ape is much stronger than an ordinary half-step Divine Lord Realm Cultivator. In particular, the strength of its body can even compare to some Divine Lords. With just the three of you, it is impossible to kill it. If Yun Tiany's words are true, Your Majesty is willing to cooperate with you to kill it. As for our feud, we'll settle it in the Stone Palace. Chen Choyue, who was being attacked by the two of them, continued to speak while defending herself. We don't need your help. As long as we kill you and don't let you get in the way, it's fine. Yao Shi rejected Chen Choyue's suggestion without hesitation. She cultivated the Frost Brow sword. She was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She could not tolerate sand in her eyes. Seeing that the two of them were still attacking her, Chen Choyue was gradually unable to resist. She shouted, Yan Jianen, come out and help me block Yun Tiany. Okay, Fairy Choyue. Upon hearing Chen Choyue's call, Yan Jianan immediately flew over from tens of thousands of miles away to block Yun Tiany. His strength was originally stronger than Yun Tiany. He had only been injured by the phantom that day. Now that they were fighting, he quickly gained the upper hand. Yun Tiany, oh Yun Tiany, you fused with the blood essence of the Divine King, but you're still so trashy. What a waste. Why don't I kill you today and refine you into an elixir? I don't believe that the powerhouse in your body will come out to save you every time. Yan Jianan, who had suppressed Yun Tiany, had a disdainful look on his face. What do you have to be arrogant about? You're just a loser. Just when Yun Tiany didn't know how to refute, Night Sorrow, who had temporarily lured the Bone Ape away, returned to the battle. Without any hesitation, he directly used the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation to fix Yan Jianan in it. Then, he used the Samsara Halberd to attack with the Samsara Strike. Yan Jianan, who was trapped in the enclosed space, had no chance to dodge at all. He was hit hard by this move. His aura immediately dropped by a level. Night Sorrow discovered that he could attack opponents in the Divine Essence Dragon Lock formation when he lured the Bone Ape away. Now, he was using it on Yan Jianan. Yun Tiany, I'll leave him to you. I'll go help Yao Shi. Chapter 2509. Night Sorrow was obviously stronger than Yun Tiany and had more tricks up his sleeve. After he joined the battle, Chen Choyue was quickly suppressed. You're dead meat. Yao Shi continuously slashed with her Frost Brow sword. Together with the bronze bell at her waist and Night Sorrow's attacks, Chen Choyue was completely at a disadvantage. She didn't even have the ability to fight back. Hee. I'm no match for you. But if you want to kill me, that's impossible. Chen Choyue, who was completely suppressed, had no ability to fight back. At this moment, she took out a crystal-clear jade talisman and scolded, Both of you, stop immediately. Otherwise, I'll immediately use the talisman in my hand. This jade talisman was a Sir God-level talisman. The aura that flowed around it made Night Sorrow feel as though he was being locked on by an ancient beast. Chen Choyue, don't think that you're the only one with a life-saving talisman. Night Sorrow couldn't do anything against a Sir God-level talisman. Yao Shi wasn't afraid. She also took out a jade talisman, which was also at the Sir God level. It was obvious that they were all outstanding existences in their sex, and they all had life-saving items on them. These two jade talismans were made by invincible Sir God level talismans. They were similar in power to the one Night Sorrow used to strengthen the Dark Demon Seal in the Endless Bone region. This kind of power was completely destructive to a feather god. Why? Do you think I don't dare? My life in exchange for yours is definitely worth it. Chen Choyue replied to Yao Shi, not to be outdone. After taking out her life-saving talisman, she was fearless. If you dare, then do it. Yao Shi wasn't afraid at all. If there's no deep hatred between the two of you, I think it's better for us to talk. Yao Shi and Chen Choyue were at daggers drawn. If they were to use the invincible Divine Lord's divine talisman here, the immense power would very likely blow apart the seal on the soul-devouring beast clan in the Divine Lord Jinyuan's cave abode. In this way, not only would they die, but High Bay City would also suffer. Night Sorrow naturally didn't want to see this happen, so he immediately tried to persuade her. That's right. Let me ask you, as long as we kill the bone ape, we can open the door to the Bluestone Palace, right? After Night Sorrow spoke, Yao Shi put down the talisman in her hand. Chen Qiuyue also put away the talisman and asked the same question again. That should be the case. Night Sorrow nodded and did not deny it. On the other side, Yan Jianan and Yun Tianyi separated again when they saw the three of them stop fighting. Yan Jianan stood behind Chen Qiuyue, while Yun Tianyi returned to Night Sorrow's side. If that's the case, why don't we work together to kill it? As for our competition, we can continue after we enter the Bluestone Palace. How about that? Chen Qiuyue said and added, if you don't agree, I'll use the divine talisman immediately and choose to die together. However, if we can successfully enter the Bluestone Palace, I can swear that I won't use the life-saving talisman in the cave abode again. Let's study it. Night Sorrow felt that this matter was acceptable, but he didn't agree directly. He called Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi together and studied it. Yun Tianyi naturally didn't want to be killed by the divine talisman, so she chose to cooperate with them. Chen Qiuyue is crazy. She can do anything. We can only choose to cooperate with her this time. Yao Shi, who was discussing things with Night Sorrow and Yun Tianyi, didn't have the irrational look she had when she confronted Chen Qiuyue. She had a bright future. Although she would rather break than bend, she didn't want to die without knowing why. Since both of you have made such a choice, I naturally agree. We'll attack them after we enter the Bluestone Palace. As long as Chen Qiuyue doesn't use the divine talisman, we have the ability to suppress her. Night Sorrow had absolute confidence in his own strength. At this time, Yao Shi said with some worry, I know Chen Qiuyue. She said that she won't use the divine talisman, which seems to be a concession, but in fact, she wants me to swear that I won't use the divine talisman. She probably found a very strong helper and has the confidence to defeat us. It doesn't matter. I think as long as we cooperate well, we can defeat any kind of feather god. I still have a trump card that I haven't used yet. In response, Night Sorrow just smiled. In the process of luring the bone ape away, he had no choice but to come up with a new plan. Even the bone ape fell for it, and it was effective against any feather god cultivator. Since you're so confident, we'll choose to cooperate with them. Yao Shi knew that Night Sorrow was the feather god of merit. He definitely wouldn't speak carelessly, so she nodded in agreement. Afterward, Yao Shi acted as the representative to communicate with Chen Qiuyue. They both swore that when they entered the Bluestone Palace, neither the two of them nor the others beside them would use the divine talisman. Since we've agreed, let's act immediately. After swearing the Heavenly Tao oath, Chen Qiuyue immediately said, it'll be very difficult for us to kill the bone ape with our attacks. I have a half-step Divine Lord talisman here. As long as we use it well, we can severely injure it. After that, we'll use our own methods. We'll exhaust it to death. All right, I have one here as well. We can use it together. Yao Shi wasn't stingy either. She took out another talisman from her bosom. As the two beauties of the Dark Moon Divine Realm, she and Chen Qiuyue were important targets of the sex protection. They were much richer than Night Sorrow. Seeing the talismans they took out, Night Sorrow thought that he had to find a way to get a few after leaving the cave. They were definitely life-saving weapons. This time, let's attack together and kill it in the Rift Valley. The half-step Divine Lord Skeletal Ape was obviously a test left behind by the Divine Lord Jin Yuan. After discussing the strategy, Night Sorrow said this and led the way to the Rift Valley. He had lured the bone ape to a hilly area in the Rift Valley and trapped it there. All right, let's follow. Yao Shi and Yun Tianyi immediately followed. Chen Qiuyue and Yan Jianan looked at each other and followed. Not long after, the five of them found the bone ape and fought it. Not long after the battle began, Chen Qiuyue used a half-step Divine Lord talisman and injured the arrogant bone ape. The injured bone ape had become extremely ferocious. It fought with the group like a madman. But after a while, it was injured by the talisman Yao Shi threw out. Its injury was even more serious. Soon, it was completely suppressed by Night Sorrow and the rest. Logically speaking, the battle should have ended very quickly. But when the bone ape was about to be killed, a phantom of the Divine Lord Jin Yuan suddenly appeared and healed the bone ape's injury. He said to the group, the bone ape is a test for you. You must kill it with your own strength. Only then will the door of the green stone palace open. Divine Lord. Seeing the phantom of the Divine Lord Jinyuan again, Yun Tianyi, the only one present who was from Haibei City, was very excited. She bowed to him. In response, the phantom of the Divine Lord Jinyuan smiled and said, "Don't tarnish the reputation of Haibei City." After saying that, he completely disappeared from the world. Then, the five of them started fighting the bone ape again. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.